Hello, hello, one more time. I don't know why, but we're still here. It is 2018. It's Friday, January 5th. Hi, guys. Amy and Bart, hello.
Hey, Aaron. Man, that is one catchy tune. I can't get enough.
Yeah, really. I love it.
Some people should.
That's Ian's work.
Yeah, Ian created that. Some people seem to like it a lot. I know Cerebrasana likes it a lot. I know Ole Demigard seems to bop his head every time we have him on.
I can't help but do a little butt boogie in my chair every time it comes on.
So, welcome to the new year, everybody. How are we doing?
Well, managing to get by.
Yeah, I want to remind everybody that this is 2018, which happens to be the 70th year anniversary of Israel.
Well, I think they go back longer than that.
Well, it depends on what.
The official country.
Oh, those guys. Okay.
Guys.
That faction. Okay.
But the ones in control go much further back.
Well, for everybody listening, if you have not already, maybe take a minute and go search my channel. There is a prediction video, or not, because I'm going to tell you what it is anyway. Being the 70th year anniversary of Israel, they do like their numbers, particularly the number 7. So I would like to just sort of make a prediction, or a couple of predictions, actually. I would like everyone to keep their eye out for this coming Sunday, which happens to be the 7th day of the year on the 70th anniversary. It also happens to be a Sunday, which is interesting. And if nothing happens, hopefully I'm wrong, also keep your eye out for March 11th, which is my main prediction. March 11th happens to be the 70th day of the year. It is March 11th, which makes it 3/11, which is a super duper coded 33. It also happens to be a Sunday. It also happens to be a full moon that day, or that evening. So my main prediction is that March 11th, we're going to see probably a major false flag. And I don't normally make predictions, but I'm calling this one. So if something happens, I can go, yay, I told you so, and whatever. It was probably going to be
then what?
Bullshit. And I know, right? It's just going to be brownie points. Doesn't mean anything. Actually, I have a crystal ball behind me that I got from one of the 3 witches, and it seems to work pretty well. Other than that, have you guys got any predictions? We got a brand new year ahead of us. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a hell of a year.
You think this is the
Yeah.
You think this is the year that they decide to go full on cashless?
No. That's. Oh, go ahead, Amy. You can field that one. But
I was going to say I don't know about cashless. I don't think so. I get the impression that there's a high or fairly high probability that something will be leading us into World War III. And I also, there have been several dates that I've looked at, but there are some people out there who think that, now I've already forgotten what specific, December 18th is the date that will be the official start. But then I think, well, we had people out there predicting another date that was 6,666 days after 9/11 back in 2016, and that didn't pan out. So who knows? I've gotten to the point where it's like all these things could be, and I'll just wait and see what is.
Hey, Aaron, do you have me on?
Oh yeah, actually, I'm highlighted. Got you on constant highlight. Sure.
Yeah, let's get us flipping back and forth. Otherwise, it's just me reacting silently. The first volley of comments.
Amy, do you remember that article I sent you on Skype the other day? That I don't want to give it away, but do you remember?
Yeah.
You know the one, right?
Yeah.
I will remember when I get a little more information, but my head's kind of full of all kinds of stuff right now. So
I'll give you a hint. It's about taking breaks at work.
Oh yes. Oh that. Oh my God. Yes.
I went looking for it in Skype. I couldn't find it. Could you do me a favor and go and find that while I play? Because what I want to do, there's about a 7-minute video. It's a Press for Truth video. You guys know that my mom listens to the show. She asked if we would talk a little bit about those listening devices, the Echo, the Amazon Echo, and the Google Alexa.
And the Siri.
And yeah. So there's a Press for Truth video. It's only about 6 minutes, maybe 7 minutes. I want to play this video while this is running. If you would please go and find that article link.
Working on it.
And give me just a second to get this going here. Full screen. Okay, so I like Dan Dix, despite whatever anybody else may think of the guy. Everybody's a shill, of course. But just listen to this little report right here.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about an Orwellian nightmare. Problem is, this isn't a dream. We've been warning you for years about these so-called smart devices like Alexa or the Echo, which have been specifically designed to spy on you for the purposes of both advertising and for control. And now we have the definitive proof, as Amazon and Google have just been caught filing patents to do just that. A bombshell report from Consumer Watchdog has recently been released, exposing an Orwellian nightmare that's unfolding right before our eyes. Google, Amazon patent filings reveal digital home assistant privacy problems. A new study reveals that Amazon and Google have filed patent applications for a number of technologies that would dramatically expand surveillance of consumers' private lives. These patent applications show how technology companies use home data to draw disturbing inferences about households and how the companies might use that data for financial gain. Some of these technologies detailed in this patent include a system for deriving sentiments and behaviors from ambient speech even when a user has not addressed the device's wake word. Remember when Amazon's Echo came out? Well, one thing you certainly didn't know at that time was in 2014, the company had patented an algorithm that could listen to human speech, including phone conversations, for statements of interest like, "I love skiing." The algorithm would then process the statements into keywords that could be used to target advertising. I've already personally experienced this myself a number of times. For example, I recently bought a car, which in BC where I live, it requires snow tires in order to be road legal. I didn't Google it. I've never typed it in. I've never typed it out anywhere. I only had one conversation on the phone with my mom where I mentioned that I'm going to need to buy snow tires in order to get the car certified. Lo and behold, approximately 48 hours later, I began to get flooded with ads to buy snow tires in my area. This new Facebook advertising tab still shows me winter tires for sale, even though I already bought them. I also had something strange happen to me just a few days ago. While I was working out, I was watching a video on my phone, which earlier I had used to record an interview with a friend about cannabis legalization. After my workout, I began uploading the video to YouTube from the same phone, and even though the video was entirely about cannabis, the suggested tags were words like fitness, weight loss, workout, and exercise, because the camera was watching me. One day I'm doing curls, the next day my Instagram is showing me a bunch of dudes doing curls. Epic fail, guys. I actually don't want to see that. And it's not just me. In fact, I want you to try an experiment right now, and we'll see if this is going to happen to you. Choose an obscure product to pretend that you are in need of, like, say, a hammock, or an electric toothbrush, or any item that you can think of that you normally don't think about. Then, in the presence of your phone or your digital assistant at home, say things like, I really need a hammock, or I wonder where I can buy a hammock. Or, hey, honey, keep an eye out for deals on a hammock. I want to buy one. Then give it 24 hours or so, and I can almost guarantee you're going to start seeing ads show up on your Facebook or your YouTube to where you can buy a hammock. The document goes on to show more areas where these patents are meant to monitor our lives for advertising and control. They have a system for deriving sentiments and behaviors from ambient speech, even when the user has not addressed the device with its wake word. They have multiple systems for identifying speakers in a conversation and building interest profiles for each one. They also have a method for inferring users' showering habits and targeting advertisers based on that and other data. Dozens of patent applications for Google's smart home devices detail scenarios in which Google may share data from smart home devices with third parties, including businesses who can then use the data to make inferences about users' sleeping, cooking, entertainment, and showering schedules. Yeah, you see now why I keep calling this an Orwellian nightmare? They've got a system for recommending products based on furnishings observed by a smart home security camera. A particularly troubling patent application describes how Google could use video feeds from smart devices to determine users' behaviors and characteristics, including gender, age, fashion, taste, style, mood, known languages, preferred activities, and so forth. The patent application describes smart devices that can target advertisements based on the title of a book by a user's bedside, the presence of a guitar or a basketball in the room, and the face of a famous actor on a user's t-shirt. Or how about a methodology for inferring child mischief using audio and movement sensors? This patent describes a smart home system that monitors the activity of every member of a household and reports back to a designated policy holder so that they can keep track of when your kids are both active and quiet. And this is just the beginning, folks. With the facial recognition and finger scanning being incrementally introduced, we're now on the fast track to an all-out Orwellian surveillance control grid that's going to be inescapable. But as I've always tried to reiterate, these things are not mandatory at this point. You don't need to invite Big Brother into your life or into your home. You don't have to submit to being treated like a criminal by scanning your finger or your iris in order to gain access to something. And in fact, you don't even need to be on their grid at all. There is a movement growing of people who are no longer wishing to comply by going down this path, and I'm one of them, and I hope you will join me. If you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check out my viral video titled Wireless Warfare Exposed, Declassified Military Doc Proves Smartphones Are Killing Mankind. And also, the iPhone Exposed, Biometric Identification is just the beginning. I'll also include a link to this bombshell report in the description below so you can check it out and share it with your friends and family, because it shows the true motives of Google and Amazon's so-called digital home assistants. If you appreciate the work we're doing here at Press for Truth, please consider making a contribution at pressfortruth.ca/donate. It's only with your continued support that video reports like this are possible. Thanks for watching, my friends. Click on that like button and share the video if you found.
Okay, so there you go. If that doesn't creep you out, I don't know what will.
Yeah, you know, it's just amazing to me. It's like every single thing that we see like that boils down to one of two motives, and oftentimes both simultaneously: profit and control.
Profit and control.
But profit also
leads to control.
Well, absolutely. But I'm just saying that you know, sometimes they may just be happy with the profit, and sometimes they may just be happy with the control. But if they can get both together, they're the happiest.
So
Just saying.
So in that report, it had mentioned sharing information with businesses. The report did not mention sharing information with your government. Hi, Bella. Bella's in the house. Hi, Bella.
Hey, Bella.
So yeah, they, you sign your rights away in that huge, gigantic legal document that they make you, sign off on, and they can share that information with anybody they want. And I would also suggest that when you hear on the news that they've been hacked, right? They've all these customer information, it's all been compromised, right? I'm not buying that it's been compromised.
It's already compromised.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean it's been?
Yeah, they're selling your shit. So,
Yep.
So Dan mentioned trying an experiment. He said just talk about something random that you normally wouldn't talk about and see if your inbox doesn't get flooded with emails. I can tell you right now that I have personally experienced that. I don't have to run an experiment. I guess it was about 10 or 11 years ago, I had LASIK eye surgery, and they told me then that as you grow older that your eyes change and you'll probably need another procedure. And it's been that long, and it's time now. My eyes are starting to get a little bit bad again, and I've been thinking lately, and I've been talking to my friends and my mom, and I've never looked up. I'm like Dan said, I've never typed it in, I've never Google searched it, but I'm getting flooded with emails for LASIK surgery. Just
well, I mean, isn't that helpful though? I mean, isn't it good that the machines know what your interests are?
No, it's not helpful, because when I'm damn good and ready, I know exactly how and where to look when I'm ready.
Yeah, but
Yes.
that's you, right?
Well, I mean, look,
aren't most people just mindless and out to sea, and they need this kind of help. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
No, I understand. But I mean, look, aren't our emails clogged up enough? I mean, it's like every day I got to go in my email and delete about 40 or 50 spams that didn't get, captured by the email program that should have sent it to the trash box to begin with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, like I said, when I'm ready, I know how to find it. I mean, who doesn't know how to use Google, right? I mean, of course.
Really.
That's sort of my my idea is that okay. I do you all remember? I don't know if I brought this up before, but do you all remember right before cell phones came out? So everybody had landlines, right? And there was this big push as this transition was happening, right? Was everybody in the populace in the know about what was going to happen in terms of cell phone proliferation? I would say mostly not. Some people were hip, but the industry certainly was preparing for a big shift. But that was when they ran that whole campaign of 1-800-COLLECT and call ATT. You remember that?
Yeah.
Where they pushed collect calls for I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, yeah,
well,
right.
Yeah, and what was the reason for it, right? If everybody had landlines and everybody had telephone plans, what was up with getting people to call each other collect? To save themselves money, and then put a times 2 times 5 times 10 bill onto the receiver of the message, right? Well, wasn't that just a big giant money grab? Wasn't that a death throw of the industry? as it knew that that whole pool was about to dry up, and so they concocted this, call people collect thing, and then just bombarded people with it. I remember it was like every single commercial break, they ran both of those commercials, 1-800-COLLECT and Call ATT, and then maybe there was a third and a fourth one, but and so it must have worked. They must have convinced thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people to go ahead and do it that way. At least try it, right? And in that way they were able to charge a bunch of money for doing the same thing, just in a slightly different way. So my point is, I wonder if this giant push towards advertising, this direct advertising, getting all this stuff out in front of people very aggressively, isn't sort of a similar death throw to where contrary to like juxtaposed to what you're saying, Aaron, which is, come on, everybody knows that if you're interested in something, you go to your computer, you go to your phone, you put into the search bar whatever it is that you're interested in, and you have the best possible results for that keyword.
Well, I don't know about best, but you have the most promoted.
Of course, yeah.
Probably the same stuff.
Yeah, when I say the best, I don't mean the most sterling, but
yes, okay. Yeah. I gotcha.
Hey, you remember how we did things before the internet?
Barely.
We looked things up in the phone book.
Yeah, sure did. Or we used the standard advertising that came in the mail, the junk mail, right, man?
Yep.
I mean,
coupons. Remember coupons?
Oh yeah.
Well, you can still get coupons. There's a website called Groupon, which actually I used, and it's so that.
Well, there's the digital coupons and it. Okay, that leads me into a whole other topic. I don't know whether to jump into it now or not.
Well, like Dan was saying, he had a conversation with his mom about snow tires, and the next thing you know, his email is flooded with advertisement for snow tires.
Yeah.
We don't need, and like he said, I'm at the gym and I'm working out, and the camera was on because he was filming, or I don't forget what he said he was doing, but he said his camera was on. He was at the gym, and next thing you know, he's getting advertising for dumbbells and weightlifting, and it's just not necessary.
But I'll tell you what. Again, devil's advocate kind of a thing. I used to sit there and when I watched more TV and more like cable TV, you just let it go. Every now and again, maybe after about 3 hours of watching, I would have a meltdown, and I would start screaming at the TV, and I would say, "I'm not in the market for a truck." Right, just because every other commercial is a Ford truck, a Dodge truck, a Chevy truck, and this truck is best.
Right,
this one, and it was just like I wish you would just give me an ad that actually applied to me, instead of trucks. I know way too much about trucks from your ads, and I'm not even in the market.
Yeah, I guess it has the advantage that you're getting things that at least you have some degree of interest in. But I will say this. I don't know why, but I have 2 email accounts, and the only thing I get ads for is something I can absolutely say for certain that I have never brought up. I have never said a word about wanting it, needing it, have any interest in it, and in fact I really have zero interest in it, but I get a lot of Viagra ads. Lots and lots of Viagra ads.
Amy, you're not alone. You're not alone.
That's the only thing I get in the ads. But other than that, I can talk and say, I want this, I need that, I'm looking for that, I'm hoping for that. neither of my email accounts has had any ads like that show up. And of course, they may show up on YouTube or other websites, but to be very honest with all my ad blockers, and I do use multiple ad blockers, I never see them. So who knows what they're trying to put up for me.
Besides being a little bit annoying, there are other instances where my cell phone, I, like a lot of people, will use my phone, the navigation app, right, which basically is powered by Google. Everything's powered by Google these days. So I'll use my cell phone to navigate to any particular location. It might be a customer's house or a business that I've never been to. And once I leave, particularly businesses, if I go somewhere, I open up my phone and it's asking, before we swipe it to turn it on, it's already asking me to send a picture or rate this location. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's invasive and it's obnoxious, and I get. Well, it's a bit of a dance, right? Because I guess a lot of people are willing to let all of this stuff into their lives. They're inviting it in. But they think these things are good ideas. It's funny that they'll talk about their own privacy issues in one breath, and then say, "Hey, I'm thinking of getting the Echo." I but I think that's also part of the again, part of the confusion, the part of the fog of war sort of tactics, which is, how do you get as many people as possible to live hypocritically and act hypocritically, so that they're carrying around the maximum amount of cognitive dissonance, yet still able to do whatever their dumbass jobs are.
Whatever their slave work is, yes.
Yeah. But they're always on a it's like Gladio, but what was the joke, Aaron? Gladio to meet you, right? It's like this. It's the happy side of Gladio. It's the softer side of Gladio, right?
Yeah.
It's this is like beyond.
Look, this goes way beyond a privacy thing. When talking about advertising is one thing. There are benefits, like you said, Bart. I'd rather not be bombarded with tampon ads. Maybe give me something that I could potentially use. So targeted marketing is not the worst part about this.
Right.
But when your Alexa is listening to you, like Dan said, having not been given its quote unquote wake up word. You didn't say, "Hey, Alexa, look up this recipe," or "Alexa, order this." My mom was telling me of an instance that she read about. Now, she's big into birds, and I forget where she read this. It might have been one of the bulletin boards that she's connected to. But somebody had a parrot, and, some parrots talk very, very well. My mom has one that talks so well that you can hardly tell the difference between her and the parrot. When the parrot has something to say, it does it in her voice, that kind of thing. Mm. So it's an African gray, by the way. They're the best talkers. So anyway,
yes, they're awesome.
So there's this woman who and this probably is not an isolated case, but her parrot was talking away one day, and the woman gets either a bill or an order for like a whole bunch of berries, right? And the woman was like, "What the hell?" Or maybe she got a bill, and the bill was like really high or some reason. I forget the exact story. But she looked and did the search history, and it said, "Order berries, order berries, order berries, order berries." You know what I mean? Because the bird was just repeating berries, berries, berries.
I mean, did the bird even like berries?
Probably. Birds like berries.
But what about other aspects, like that in the video that Dan, for the Press for Truth video, where when your listening device can hear the toilet flush? And then, maybe you live in California where they're having a water shortage. And, you know, and the fact is, when there is a water shortage or a drought and they have a watering ban where you're not allowed to water your freaking lawn,
Right.
You can be fined pretty heavily. You know, they might give you a warning the first time, but you can be fined pretty heavily for watering your lawn. People have paid pretty hefty fines because maybe a pipe broke and water ran down the driveway or something, shit like that. So, you know, in certain situations, as things progress down the fucking toilet hole that we're headed down, one day you're going to get an extra bill because Alexa heard you flush the toilet too many times. Or maybe Child Protective Services shows up to your house because Alexa could hear your kids getting into a fight.
Or something on the TV. So the TV was
yeah, that too. That's right. That's right.
And there was a child. It was about child abuse, right?
You're a fan of horror movies.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And Alexa's calling the cops on you all the time because it can't.
It's a quagmire. It's always mistakes will be made. Let's put it that way.
Alexa's swatting you. Okay.
I didn't hear.
I said Alexa swatting you.
Oh, I thought you said squatting.
Swatting. Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Swatting. Yes, I know. That's why I used that.
Okay, so it's creepy, man. We're headed down to a freaking Orwellian nightmare, total control, where it's just like in the movie 1984, where the character Winston, he wakes up and the wall turns on, and it's like, okay, Winston, time to do your calisthenics. Winston, I need you to push a little harder. You know, they can see you, and if you slack off, they're talking to you directly. It just just fucking creepy stuff, man. It's except
in 1984, it was a real person, and we're going to AI going, hey, you do this. Hey, don't do that. Hey, I'm going to bob you over the head because you did that. You know,
Right.
I think that begs the question of what is a real person anymore, right? Because so if you sort of mix and match, remix some stuff, so you have the ability to concoct completely realistic people, or photos of realistic people.
Oh, they do.
They do. Yes, they do.
Yeah. And so that soon enough will be animated to a degree of where you can't tell whether the person that is
all of the movie stars will be constructs.
Yeah.
There won't be any real humans doing the movies.
But again, like it was highlighted in the video, that not only do they share their information with other businesses for the purposes of targeted advertising, but let's not forget they're very likely sharing their information with governments. So like I said, when your Google Alexa hears you flushing your toilet or taking too many showers, you know what I mean? So it's just listening. Oh, you remember a couple of weeks ago, I talked about the new algorithms that even on your phone that are detecting if you're depressed. You remember that? It starts to create a catalog, a profile on how fast you normally swipe. And if you're swiping a little bit too slow, it might detect that you're depressed.
Might think you're depressed.
So maybe you'll start getting advertising for therapists or antidepressant drugs, or maybe Child Protective Services will show up because you've got kids and you've been labeled as depressed by the new algorithm. And we just want to check on you, make sure you're okay, that kind of thing. I mean, the privacy, we have no privacy anymore. It's gone. So it's just going to get worse from here.
Yes. I agree.
They're talking about watering plants, watering gardens in the chat room. Somebody just said, who was it? We Are Free just said collect rainwater. Yeah, that's not the. I mean, I would say do it, but depending on where you are, you can get in trouble. I think Jersey and California have already prohibited the gathering of rainwater.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I say, here, keep bringing it on. That's what I say. I think that this is going to be an overkill kind of a thing, where if they don't do it at the right pace, if if all of this nonsense comes at us too fast and too hard, hopefully it will trigger some
the abundance paradigm
form of resistance.
Withdrawing consent.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing. I think that they're going at it at the highest pace they think they can without us saying, hey, wait a minute, no.
Right.
Well, I think there's plenty of people that are speaking out and
well, I'm hoping there's enough.
Yeah, well, how many's enough? I don't know. I'm just saying there are people noticing. It's not like nobody's noticing. So boiling frogs, that kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, they know how hard to push us.
Yeah. So when we notice, we can point it out. But yeah, the whole rainwater thing. When I heard about that, I had to do a double take. Like, really? Wow, that's like. It reminds me of Spaceballs. Remember canned air, right? Perrier canned air.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, from Spaceballs, Perrier. So, let me see. I'm looking for a video right now, just so I could pull up some pictures. I may not need to get it off of this video here. But the Colorado cop shooting. Have you guys had a chance to look into that?
Nope.
Very deeply into it. But what little I saw of it, I went, oh yeah, right.
Right. Yeah, I looked into it for about 10 seconds and went, okay, done and done.
Apparently it's real because they had a picture of a cop car and some ambulances. That makes it real.
Yeah, right. Let me see. Where did it go?
So while you look for that, something I've been noticing. So we don't have cable, but we do have Hulu, and they've been able to sneak in a bunch of ads. So like, I wanted to watch the new episode of X-Files. I had my fingers crossed. I hoped that maybe they wouldn't put out a piece of shit. I was wrong. They've lost the magic completely. It was awful.
Wait,
I don't know. What?
The what was awful? I'm sorry.
X-Files? The new X-Files?
Oh, okay.
So Mulder and Scully are back after a 10-year hiatus.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and tell me about it, because I'm probably going to do a Star Wars review. I thought it sucked ass, but go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Star Wars, but yeah, Star Wars is also in the category of it's lost its magic, and who the fuck knows what they're thinking these days. It looks like, all right. So one of my big pet peeves is design by committee, right? Anytime, like if you put a visionary in charge of a project, and if that visionary is a bit of a control freak, like a Stanley Kubrick, you're going to get a good product. You're going to get a product that stands up year after year, decade after decade. When you do this, when you compromise and then you compromise on the compromise and etc., you get designed by committee, designed by focus group, and and it's saccharine sweet, right? You have that immediate thing of like, oh, that was okay and not harmful. It was harmless, but there's no edge to it. There's no substance to it. It doesn't end up having any impact whatsoever.
Right. It's just filler.
It just becomes filler like everything else. So, but I wanted to talk about not the X-Files itself, but the commercials. So this thing I've been noticing around commercials lately, and as this whole cryptocurrency, altcoin, Bitcoin thing is happening and gaining momentum, and seems to be a thing happening in the world. I'm noticing, maybe this is me just paying attention to it more, or maybe there's this is a trend, but it seems like more than ever, money and money concepts are being tweaked and played with and manipulated in commercials, to in a sense of kind of like the whole idea of, 1999, right? Well, that's $20, right? But it's not quite 20; it's 19.
Yeah.
That was the old trick, right? But that trick still sort of works. Then it was the trick of, 35% off, right? Save this amount.
Right.
Now it almost seems like there is nothing about the true price or the true value of anything. All the messaging is tertiary and button pushing, and they're just, it's all side doors and back doors. Nothing is directly stated anymore in terms of anything to do with finance and anything to do with money and value. Have y'all noticed that?
No.
I don't know how big of the TV watchers you are, but
I avoid TV whenever possible, and I apologize for its being on rather loud behind me, but I don't have control of that.
no.
So,
Well, I watch a fair amount, and I tend to ignore as many commercials as I can. But I've not really noticed what you're talking about. But I'll keep my eye out for it, though, for sure.
Yeah, just maybe it's me and my, like I said, and my attention. Just because I've started investigating the whole cryptocurrency phenomenon very in depth over the last month. It's been on my radar for years, but obviously it's a bit of a trope right now. But then, yeah, maybe it may be more sensitive. But I would say, like, just look at how money and value and currency and all of that is spoken about in commercials now. It's I think we're going through another sort of shift, and it might be somewhat related to that point I was making about the 1-800-COLLECT thing. It might be a death throw kind of a thing. They might be out of options. And it's now,
their options are being limited. A lot of things are tanking. Macy's is laying off, I think, 5,000 people this year. Sears and Kmart are going to close. I forget how many stores, a bunch, 50 locations or 500. I think it was a 5 and a 0. And I forget if it was 1 or 2 zeros. But Sears and Kmart are closing a bunch of stores. Macy's is laying off 5,000 people. I saw that on a headline, I think, yesterday morning. The NFL, their ticket sales are down. They're losing their ass. Hollywood movies are taking a tank. And speaking of Hollywood movies, this new Star Wars, it is, I don't know if they intentionally tried their very best to destroy the entire franchise with one movie, but they damn near came close. They
did a good job of going in that direction, huh?
It was that much worse than you expected? Because come on, you didn't have any high hopes going into it, did you?
No, actually not, especially since Disney took over the franchise. The first couple of movies they put out were not horrible. At least they left the door open for the plots to continue on. They had some character arcs and character development. The story, at least, was a decent story. I don't have much of a recollection of Rogue One, but the other one, The Force Awakens, was actually not a bad movie. And I know that they injected Rey, the character Rey, the strong feminine character, and you know, it wasn't terrible, but they had a few things that were like kind of way out there. It's like this new bad guy, which is the Kylo Ren. They just sort of introduced the movie, and I'm talking about Force Awakens. It's like you don't know who he is until halfway through the movie, where you finally figure out that he's Han Solo's son and Leia's son together, and you don't find out until way later that you know, they sent him off to go train with Luke, and then this major bad guy, which is God, I can't even remember his name now. It's like, where the hell did he come from? He's like, you know, got more power than Palpatine, right? He's like this horrible, terrible bad guy with dark force powers above and beyond any bad guy. There's no backstory. Where did he come from?
Just poof.
Yeah, and then
that seems a little lazy.
And then the you know, the bad guy in general, which is the God, I'm just brain farting like crazy. What's it called? It used to be the Empire, and now it's the First Order, right? So, you know, you go into the Force Awakens movie, and you don't know. It's like, where the hell do these guys come from? I thought the last couple of movies that they defeated the bad guys, they blew up Death Star, they blew up Death Star 2, and then all of a sudden, here's this new First Order, which is bigger and badder. It's almost like, remember, we had Al Qaeda. We defeated Al Qaeda. Yay! Wait a minute, what? ISIS? They're bigger and badder, and nobody knew who the hell they were. And all of a sudden, they're here, and they're bigger and better and stronger. Holy shit! So
they're everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, except they're the exact same thing, because this First Order, they build a bigger Death Star. They're using the same ships. They're dressed the same. Everything's the same, except they're not the Empire. They're the First Order. So a big question there. And then so Star Wars 8 is so absolutely full of plot holes, and so absolutely full of left-wing progressive feminism, social justice warrior propaganda. I just want to fucking puke. They destroy every single character. Every single character. The character of the character is absolutely destroyed. They turned Luke Skywalker into a sniveling, whining, fucking crybaby.
Wait. He's always been a sniveling, whining crybaby.
Yeah, okay. In a way, perhaps.
Not entirely.
All right, but he's even worse. Yeah.
Yeah, but according to the story, he's old now, and so he's like the only Jedi left, and he's like, you know, he's the badass on the block, and he's a pussy in this movie. So the main character, Rey, she has like no fucking training whatsoever. She defeats Kylo Ren on the first time she ever touches a lightsaber. And in the new movie, number 8, she actually defeats. She gets in a little squabble with Luke, and she puts him on the ground. Right? She's had one fucking day worth of training, and then the whole rest of the movie. What are they? I've checked out some other movie reviews. It's called, I think it's called Mary Sue. It's like a phenomenon for female characters. They can do no wrong. Right? Everything they do is perfect. Everything they do works the first time. This character, Rey, she has virtually no character arc. She has no training, and now she's the baddest thing on the block, and she's kicking everybody's ass with lightsaber.
Yeah, right. That always happens.
You know, the beginning.
All I had to do was pick up a gun, and I became an expert gunslinger.
The beginning of the movie,
they
open up with this scene in space where they're trying to take on the First Order in space in this big battle, and they don't have very many ships, but they've got a bunch of bombers, right? And they move slower than dog shit. And so they got these bombers that are trying to basically hover over top of this giant dreadnought spaceship for the First Order. And they drop their fucking bombs. It's like, what? I thought we were in space. Where's the fucking gravity come from? They're actually dropping bombs in space down on top of this ship. It's just fucking retarded. Everything about it is retarded. And the main admiral, the main good guy, is a female with purple fucking hair, by the way, and she just berates the hero character, Poe, at every opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. So as you mentioned that makes me flash back to this commercial that I saw yesterday, and it struck me as being part of this entire trend. It was a commercial for like a veterans oriented insurance company. It's like AAF or something like this, and it's first it's a married couple, and first it's a woman, and she starts speaking, and she says something like, you know, my husband and I are both veterans, but I outrank him, both in the Army and at home, right? And then you see him, and he's shorter and smaller than her, right? and he's like, well, when we got out of the service, I had this other insurance company, and I thought it was good enough. And then I talked to my wife, and she said, let's call the Veterans Insurance Company. And, well, it turns out she's right, and she's always right. And I switched right away, and now we're saving all this money, and we're better protected, right? But it's this, they're really pushing this thing of
yes, they are.
I mean, it's not enough anymore. The idea that like 90% of households, the money is spent by, or the checkbook is held by the female. It has to go further and further and further to the point where the male is a boy, right? I think it's like the boyification of all men.
Oh, this movie, all men in this movie are fuck ups and dumbasses.
Yeah,
especially
the homerization, right?
Well, except for the female protagonist, who was probably a man too.
Yeah, and look, all this stuff was kind of cool, you know, 20 years ago when it was an extreme point of view,
right?
Which it is. It's an extreme point of view, and it was refreshing to see it here, you know, pop up here and there, and be like, oh yeah, wow, life can be like that for some people. But man, it's just gone.
Life should be that way for everybody.
It's become so hyper normalized. It's
yeah.
You know, in Force Awakens, they developed this character, this black guy, who deserts the you know, the First Order, right? He's a stormtrooper, and he deserts, and they developed this character, and everybody liked this character, even myself. I've not heard really anybody talk about, well, they were injecting black guys and making, you know, nothing like that. Nothing about racism. I mean, everybody liked this character, but in The Last Jedi, he has his opportunity to save the Resistance, and they're in these little ground fighters, and they're cruising along, and the Resistance is held up in this, you know, mountain base with a big doors. And the First Order shows up with this giant freaking cannon, and when they get close enough, they're going to blow the doors open. Well, the black guy, Finn, he has this opportunity. He's going to sacrifice himself. He's going to fly his ship right inside this cannon and blow up the whole thing and save the day and be the hero and sacrifice himself. But then there's this other female character, this Chinese girl, who only met him like a day before, but all of a sudden she's in love with him. She stops him by crashing her ground cruiser into his ground cruiser, stopping him from sacrificing himself. And the line they give her is just fucking retarded. She says something like, "Oh, we don't defeat the enemy by killing what we hate. We defeat the enemy by saving what we love." Something, and then kisses him. Just completely fucking retarded. Steals his opportunity to be a hero. Ruins an opportunity to save the last little remnant of resistance. It's just the whole fucking plot of this movie, everything about it was retarded. All of the white male characters are either killed or completely fucking incompetent.
Yeah.
Including the good guy, the white male characters, including them, including Luke Skywalker, who gets his ass kicked by Rey with zero fucking training, and Kylo Ren, who's the white guy. He's a bad guy, of course. He gets his ass kicked in the other movie, and Rey had never even touched a fucking lightsaber. So it's like this Mary Sue chick comes along with no training, no character arc, no development. She doesn't have to work for anything, and she's just
look, I think that this is also pointing to a dangerous component to this, which is the overconfidence. It's the selling of overconfidence. It's girl power, girl empowerment, sort of a thing, it seems like it's being packaged as a privilege, as a deserved, like, automatic privilege, right? If you are girl, feminine, female, or feminized, right, you get to be part of the girl club power, girl power club, and all you got to really do out there in the world is proclaim some girl power, and then the seas will part, right? You don't actually have to even take any action. You just announce girl power, right? And then it'll happen for you.
Falls into place.
Yeah. But the thing is that it won't. And then when it doesn't, what happens? Like, is that when you call 911 or you call campus security, and then the underpaid, underappreciated male comes onto the scene, and then you're mad at him because he's not going to help you out because he doesn't respect girl power? Or, like, it's just, oh my God, it's going to be just horrible.
Well, apparently the new Star Wars movie is tanking really, really bad. Forbes magazine put out an article saying that the ticket sales in the second week are down by 77%.
Wow.
Now, we were going to go see it on the opening weekend. I didn't realize it was the opening weekend. It was Nancy's birthday, and we were going to go out and catch that movie, and it was booked. And we were like, Nancy and I we're not into crowds, and we didn't want to sit assholes to elbows. So we went the following week. And the following week when we were there, no kidding, the theater was at least 75% empty. The row that we were in, it was just her and I and nobody in that row. And the row in front of us had no one in it.
Wow.
So the theater on the second week was literally 75% empty. And I just heard today that Forbes magazine wrote that article, 77% ticket drop on the second week. So they screwed the pooch on this one. They took politics over story. They took the message of feminism and progressivism over character development. And it was just, there's no fucking story. It was just like a giant fucking propaganda machine is all this movie was. So if you haven't seen it, don't bother. Don't
bother.
Don't bother.
I'm very glad because I was invited to go see it when it was first opening, and something just told me no. I said, nah, I'll pass, thanks. So my friend went.
I mean, I could go on and on. I could go.
He probably missed something because he thought it was pretty good. I don't know.
I could go on and on for a good solid hour just describing how every single character and every single plot and subplot and side story and side adventure, every character, male character, female character, was just fucking destroyed. They're just absolutely the most disgusting storyline I've ever seen. And there are literally hundreds, probably thousands, maybe tens of thousands of YouTube videos of people giving terrible, terrible, terrible reviews. So there's that.
Well,
they ruined. I mean, they did a good job ruining. I mean, at this point, I don't even care what happens in episode 9. I mean, I walked out of that theater and first thing I said to Nancy was, this is not one of those movies where I'm going to want to watch over and over like all the other, because I'm a big Star Wars fan and so is she, and we'll watch, 10, 20 times. You know what I mean? I don't care how we've seen it before. If it's on, usually if there's nothing else good, we'll watch it again and again and again. Mm-hmm. But this is not one of those movies that I'm going to be interested in seeing repeatedly like the others. It's terrible, terrible.
And people thought Jar Jar Binks was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
Yeah,
he may turn out to be the best thing that ever happened in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think fortunately he wasn't what the whole movie was about. He and I think that was a good thing.
Yeah. So okay. So there's
Onwards.
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 We have other things to talk about.
Yeah, is there a solution? Is there a solution to save Star Wars?
Well,
okay, yeah. I mean, I think that's a legitimate question, right? Can we pull Star Wars out of this horrific nosedive?
well, they had a new director for this one, and J.J. Abrams will be taking up the reins again to pick up Episode 9. So hopefully J.J. Abrams can bring it back. All right, but anyway, let's talk about this very briefly. There's not much to cover. I just want to show you this short video. We can talk about it while it rolls. There's nothing to hear. I just want to show you this. This is the Colorado cop shooting, okay? So this is helicopter footage of the parking lot, okay? So before I say anything, I just want you guys to get a good look at what is shown here and tell me what you find wrong with what we're seeing. And take your time, wait for the helicopter to go all the way around. He does full circle once or twice. But just look at this parking lot and tell me what's wrong with this scene. This is a scene of, I think 4 cops were shot and 1 was killed or something like that. Again, I didn't look too deeply into this, but when I saw this helicopter footage, I was done and done. This is all I needed to see. Oh, this is an apartment complex, by the way. This happened, there was a call for a domestic disturbance, and apparently there was a shootout, 4 cops, and I guess some people in the apartment or whatever. But just keep in mind that what you're looking at is an apartment complex parking lot. Okay? Tell me what you think. Tell me what's wrong with this.
No other cars, no, like if it's an apartment complex, where are all the cars that would regularly be parked there?
Thank you, Bart. I'm glad someone's paying attention.
No. Everybody that lives there parks away from the building, and all has black SUVs and other. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's normal. Seriously, it's normal.
Every single person in that apartment was at work that day.
Yes, and they like to park perpendicular
sideways.
Lots. Yes, that's one of their favorite things to do.
Double and triple parked.
Yep.
That's
perfectly normal for that apartment building, I guess.
Yeah, so it looks to be.
And don't they all look frantic and determined to solve some problem?
Is that a food truck right there?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. But it wouldn't surprise me any. We've seen them Sandy Hook.
It kind of does look like a food truck. Look at the side panel opens up. That little van on the bottom left. You got a group.
It may be.
Got a group of military guys standing around there.
Okay, could be.
I mean, that could be a food truck. There's a bunch of cop cars down on the bottom there. I mean, these guys, it looks like National Guard standing around.
Yeah, it's a get together.
Yeah,
the mobile command center.
I see people are enjoying their coffee.
Yeah. So
that's always important in an active shooter situation.
Well, so these seem to just be pretexts. Then it's an excuse to rally, right? It's an excuse to get out of the office, have a field trip, get together, rub elbows, coordinate some stuff, check the coordination.
They got the mobile command RVs is all set up.
Yeah. What the thing? Okay, back to Vegas. I hadn't really thought about it this way until maybe a couple weeks after Vegas. After I kept thinking about what that whole thing was all about, and I'm not saying this is the only thing that it was about, but I think that these things are essentially fundraising exercises, right? It's just about legitimizing budgets.
If you remember the Pentagon 1033 program, I don't know how old that is. I think that's maybe a good 8 or so years old, maybe older, maybe 10 years old. The Pentagon started gifting a lot of their military hardware to all kind of police precincts all across country, under the provision that they had to exercise, they had to drill, they had to use that equipment.
Yep. It's like use it or lose it kind of a thing, right? So then you figure out how, if nothing's going on, you concoct something, and then you yeah. Tax dollars at work, yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna take 5.
Oh, look at the rest of this parking lot. Right when the helicopter camera zoomed out, look at the rest of this parking lot right there. It's empty. Look at that.
Those don't look like apartments to me, though. They could be
more like a storage unit.
Yeah, it looks like storage units. So, you know, it's just like what can you you can, it's what we live in the time when you can say anything about anything, and then, you know, a chunk of the people will just believe what you said. And then even as they look and see that okay, well, you know, here I am standing next to this cow, right? Person standing next to a horse. Well, like, what percentage of people are going to, let's say, go, wait a minute, that's a horse? And then how many people are going to just sort of not care? And then when they recall it, they're going to go, oh, yeah, I saw that newscast of somebody standing next to a cow, right? Because they'll remember the words of it. Yeah. It's endlessly fascinating.
Okay, well, this ought to be endlessly fascinating as well.
Yes.
All right, let's change gears. I was looking for an article that someone else was talking about that came from this website, this United Kingdom. It's a UK news magazine website. And it was about, the article I was looking for originally was about sexualizing kids and shit like that. And I couldn't find the article. But while I was looking, I found this. I thought it was more than worth a laugh and worth talking about a little bit. Should we take masturbation breaks at work? And can you guys see?
Yeah, we can see. I'm just aghast, you know.
I don't know if this is not letting me scroll.
Huh. Well, that sucks.
Let me just see if I can. Just see if I can find it.
Okay, I'm going to be right back.
You go take a masturbation break?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
There it is. All right, I should be able to pull that one up, and hopefully that'll work better. There we go. Should we take masturbation breaks at work? Are wank breaks really a wise idea? As we sit at our dimly lit desks, squinting at years-old computer screens, we often find ourselves lusting over all the fancy offices offering perks to their employees, We dream of a workplace where it's okay to take naps on special nap rooms filled with blankets and eye masks, where holiday time is unlimited, where our working hours are flexible. And it's all because we believe that. Surely, all that stuff will make us happier, better, more creative workers in the long run, which is probably true. Anything that helps us with work-life balance, reduce stress, and makes the office more pleasant place is more likely to be a positive thing. But it might not just be down to holiday time, taking your full lunch break and napping. Apparently, the next trendy way to make the working day better is masturbation break. I'd like to know why they think that's trendy. The next trendy way to make that part I don't really get. How they come up with that.
Pardon me, I'm going to go take a masturbation break. Yeah, I can just see announcing that at work. No.
A recent article by Ravishly declared that fapping is the new smoke break. Now, I guess in English terms, fapping is another slang term for whacking one off or pulling your pud or whatever.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I had a very interesting experience when I first encountered that term because somebody said something about fapping, and I very innocently asked what it was, and they were too embarrassed to tell me. Took a while before I discovered what it was and went, now I know why they wouldn't come out and just explain themselves.
All right, well, here's a real clincher of a statement. And last year, a survey by Guy-Fi, a masturbation booth pop-up. I sure like to know what the fuck that is. It's like, is that a
really? What?
Is that like when you're walking the street and you just need to get one off real quick? What the fuck is that? Okay, a survey by Guy-Fi found that 40% of workers in New York masturbate while on the job. What?
I'm going to bet that, first of all, that's probably a little high, and second of all, that 99% of them are male. Just going to guess. I'm just going to call bullshit. 40%? Come on. If it's that bad, then I don't know where the hell I've been. Really? Yeah, I'm with you. You know, I will say I knew one guy who did that in my entire life.
Next line, work masturbators praise popping to the toilets for some self-love as a perfect way to take a break from their desks and reduce stress. I don't know about you, but when I'm having a good jerk, the last place I want to be is in a fucking public toilet.
Really?
A tiny booth hovering over a fucking John is not exactly the environment that I think of when I'm trying to,
When it's conducive to you coming here.
Let's see here.
Oh dear.
Let's see here. But is it actually a good idea for your workplace productivity? Well, psychologically speaking, yes. Yes, it is.
According to whom?
Mark Sargent, a senior lecturer in psychology at Nottingham Trent University, told Metro UK that a masturbation break would be very effective at work, describing it as a great way to relieve tension and stress. Ah, Jesus Christ.
Jeez.
So I don't even know what else to say about this. That's just fucking ridiculous. But while I was looking at this, like I told you on Skype, Amy, and I don't know if it's still there, maybe it is, these advertisements on the side, these articles on the side here, there it is. Here's one. Why you should buy your sons and daughters sex toys.
Yeah, you did mention to take a peek at the side.
They're going to masturbate someday. As a parent, it's your responsibility to make sure they do it safely. Just a fucking second. Just a fucking second here. Safely?
Safely.
Make sure they do it safely. So buying them sex toys is going to help them do it safely? Buy your sons and daughters sex toys. What are you going to buy your son? A plastic vagina?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry, we couldn't find your page.
Or maybe
That article won't come up.
maybe some tissues to keep the stuff from staining his clothes or something. I don't know. Just do it safely, dear.
I mean, look, just scroll down. Look at these sidebar articles. What is teabagging? Why these women want to create Pussypedia, a free online guide to all things vagina. Oh my God. What? I mean, Metro, really?
It's pretty disgusting,
home
isn't
news,
it?
sports, entertainment, lifestyle. This is pretty foul shit.
Yes, it is. I'm unimpressed. It gets
me too.
It gets -2 on my 1 to 10 scale.
All right, let's move on to something a little bit more serious. Strange plane activity. Yes. What the fuck is going on with the strange planes? Bart, are you back? I'm screen sharing. I don't know. All right. Well, Bart had to take a quick workplace wank to release stress.
Very stressed out these days.
So, have you guys looked at or thought about or anything going on with these strange planes? I mean, look, we had the Atlanta airport fire that shut down the busiest airport in the world for like a full 12 hours. And during that time, there was strange plane activity, right? There was that plane that was linked to this Israeli shipping company that handled live animals and various hazard materials. And then like right after that, that plane was allowed to leave. It was the only one allowed to leave from the Atlanta airport. And then right after that, we had the one airplane, and I forget where it was. I think was it going to Japan or fuck? Where was it going? I can't remember. It was a 11-hour flight. It was 4 hours into the flight. It turned around and came back because they said that they had the wrong passenger on the plane.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, and I thought, that's weird.
Okay, first I'm calling major bullshit on that one because
yes,
once you're on the plane, that's it. You're on the plane. When the plane is in the air, they don't check your tickets.
No. How would they discover that? Exactly. I'm sitting there thinking, what?
Yeah. I mean, unless the people that were on the plane 4 hours into their flight decided, wait a minute, we should be heading west. We're going east. What's going on here? You know what I mean? Maybe. But
even then, do they pull? It's like, don't make me pull this car over.
Yeah. Even then, they turn the entire plane around.
No.
4 hours into their flight, they fly 4 hours back. You know how fucking pissed off I would be if I was on that flight. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think I'd be
don't worry.
livid.
Yeah, let's not worry about the other 100 or 200 passengers that might have business meetings to attend or
and other things,
fucking funerals
important
to go to. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
Forget the other people. We're just going to turn this thing around.
That's right, because we've got this one person that is the wrong person.
Well,
whatever that means.
Okay, so obviously that's not the cover story. That's not true. That's more. I mean, I think that's a trope that they're floating out there. It's in that same category of stuff that doesn't happen yet. It happened this time on this special day and under these special circumstances, and now it's a thing. Now it's within the realm of possibility, and yet no, it makes no damn sense whatsoever.
So right after that, and I'm not sure who's watching. I think V is watching. I just got a text message from Ian's cell. So if you're watching, hi V, and if you're watching, hi Ian.
Love you both.
Anyway, so right after that incident where they turned that plane around, there was another incident where there was a bird in the cockpit. You guys hear about that one?
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, they turned another plane around because there was a fucking bird in the cockpit.
What? more BS.
I mean,
BS.
I've heard of birds, them smashing into birds and it going through the windshield.
Yeah, that I've right.
And that's, you know, you got a bird in the cockpit that way, then that's kind of a bad scene. But
yeah, but just having a bird in the is a reason to turn a plane around. I don't get it.
And then I think it was virtually the very next day there was another plane that turned around because they said they had problems with their nose cone.
Yeah, this is beginning to become an odd trend.
And then the next, go ahead, Bart.
I think this is reminding me a lot of what Field McConnell talks a lot about and Dave. I forget his last name.
Snakes on a plane. I like that, Mad Pieman.
Well, you know, funny that you said snakes on a plane because the day after the nose cone, another fucking plane turned around because there was a rat on the plane.
Well, come on.
They needed the snakes, obviously.
Yeah, they were snake food.
Well, there you go. That's the evidence that, you know, you see a rat, therefore there must be snakes, right? So I mean, it's just logic. It's just science.
Okay.
The guys from Able Danger, Field McConnell and Dave, forget his last name, but they talk a lot about airlines and airplanes, and you know, Field McConnell was a airline or a pilot for airlines for many years. I think was also an aviator in the Marines. Now, you know, who these guys, I tend to believe that they are who they say they are. And I tend to believe that they do talk about they make a lot of valid points. And I don't know a lot about aviation. So they're sort of my source for inside information around aviation concerns and sort of behind the curtains type stuff. You know, the basic stuff I know. You know, plane takes off, lift, you know, flies here and there, lands in airports. I get that stuff, but it's all of the weird shenanigans that are in the gaps of air travel. All of that kind of stuff, like the uninterruptible pilot mechanism, where any airliner, any commercial airliner that has this system in it, now I guess they're standard, can essentially be remotely taken over and droned. So I see these several weird airplane behaviors as this way of leaking out into the consciousness some stuff that's not making sense, hoping that folks will take a second, third, fourth look, get their minds wrapped around what are airplanes, what is air travel, what is radar, start asking all of these questions instead of just assuming that we, you know, A, you know what all is going on, and B, that there's competent people in control of what's going on, and then that it's all on the up and up. All right, back to you.
Well, I got more. After the rat, we had the nose cone. Then there was the rat, and then let's see. This one happened on Wednesday. Another airplane had to turn around, and the excuse this time was they heard strange sounds. Now, this particular airplane was the second airplane that had to turn around for strange sounds, and the excuse that they're giving is that there was something in the luggage compartment. So I have no idea, but they turned 2 planes around with that excuse, that they heard strange sounds. Let's see. Let's see. There is another one. This is the one that we're looking at right now. The one that went from Oklahoma to Texas. Now, I heard about this on yesterday. This story broke yesterday. Small single-engine plane. It's a I think it's an SR-22 class single-engine fixed wing. It took off from somewhere in Oklahoma, headed down to Texas, and you're looking at the flight track radar right here. This is a sort of a looping. It stopped. Let me hit it again. Mm-hmm. There it goes. So this is basically a Twitter feed. A bunch of people were talking about it. Somebody dropped this. So this is the flight path from this airplane that left Oklahoma. Now, the headline the other day yesterday said that the Coast Guard is searching for an airplane that went missing after it took off from Oklahoma to Texas. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, why the fuck is the Coast Guard looking for this airplane? Well, follow this thing, watch this little green plane. Turns out the destination there, you can see where it's headed, right about here, it veers off course and flies all the way out into the Gulf of Mexico and then disappears.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna open up Google Earth and see. I'll be very curious to see if it flies over Galveston.
Well, it goes out into the Gulf of Mexico a pretty good ways and then disappears. Now, what's interesting about this case here, is that we can pull up the article. Amy, why don't you do that while we're talking here? The Oklahoma, Texas airplane that went missing, because there's some interesting things about this one. They sent up fighter jets to intercept when it went off course. The fighter jets, they sent up 2 at first, and they ran out of fuel. And then you may be right, Bart. I think it was Galveston.
Yeah,
where they sent
over like Houston, and then
but they sent up 4 fighter jets to go intercept this thing after the first 2 jets ran out of fuel, which is very strange.
Yeah.
So this single engine, I guess somebody down here says that it was an SR-22. Here it is. SR-22 aircraft has a range of 1,207 miles, enough to possibly get to Cancun in Cuba, not enough for the Caymans, which is what they're saying. And here's the map, the relative projection of where it went.
I found an article. It says Coast Guard searching for missing Oklahoma City plane. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
It's a really short article. I mean, really, really short. Maybe I should go back and look at another one, because this is saying it's breaking news and check back for updates. Well,
I was looking today, trying to figure out, and that's when I found this page here. I was trying to figure out what class of aircraft in particular it was, because we had the tail number on most of the articles, but it didn't give the actual class, because there are multiple types. There are single-engine jet, there are single-engine prop, there are 5-seaters, 2-seaters, 8-seaters, 10-seaters, and this one was an animal rescue. This is a doctor who was flying his plane as part of some animal rescue. I guess he was going to pick up or deliver some dogs as part of an animal rescue, and then went off course, went out into the Gulf, and disappeared. So that would explain the Coast Guard, obviously, but it doesn't explain why fighter jets were scrambled. Maybe if a plane goes off course and is not responsive, maybe if you're near a base, in fact, it's hard not to be in this country, maybe they would send up some fighter jets, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I was trying to figure out how far this plane could potentially fly.
We got something from Base Ivic, aka Matt. 2 planes just clipped each other on a Toronto runway and are on fire. So I guess
really
right now.
Oh shit.
Jeez.
Well, listen, this particular plane went way out into the Gulf, as indicated by these flight trackers that are showing here now. Now, what I wanted to know was, first, what capacity did this particular plane have? How far could it go if it wanted to? Like maybe, somebody's trying to flee the country. You know what I mean? So maybe he just went south. Maybe he was trying to get to Cuba or Cancun or something like that. So I wanted to know, how far could it possibly go? What capacity did it have?
It's a Cirrus SR-22.
Yeah, that's what I said. Down here, somebody alludes. He says it's an SR-22, a range of about 1,207 miles. So, okay, that explains that. Now, that I still have a problem with that because, and anybody in the chat or anybody after the video, if you know more about aviation than I do, and I'll call my friend Donnie, who's a pilot, and I'll ask him. But I'm pretty sure that planes do not fill their tanks full capacity unless it's absolutely necessary, unless they're going on a very long flight. They usually fill their tanks with the very bare minimum for two reasons. Number one, fuel is heavy. Okay. And the other reason is if they crash, they want the least amount of fire. Right.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So if this plane was scheduled to leave from Oklahoma to right there in the center of Texas, it doesn't make sense that he had all this extra fuel to fly hours and hours and hours beyond his destination.
Well, maybe that's why the plane didn't make it and ended up in the water, and that's why the Coast Guard had to.
Yeah, some people are saying,
it's a major miscalculation. Anyway,
some people were saying hypoxia. Maybe the pilot passed out or had a heart attack. He was flying at like 19,000 feet. By the way, these fucking reporters, they can never get it right. One article says 15,000, one article says 19,000. But either way, it's oxygen required environment. When you're that high up, I think anything over 10 or 12,000, you got to have oxygen. So
it's a pressurized cabin or
yeah.
oxygen.
So if they had a cabin breach, then you're gonna. And a lot of people are saying that if you had a cabin breach, you'll suffer hypoxia and freeze to death pretty quick. So I mean that makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is how far he made it. So this to me looks like someone was trying to leave the country. You know what I mean? Someone was
either that or it's a fake news story. One of the two.
There's some other speculation by some other people about all these other strange planes that keep turning around that these pedophiles are, running, and
that's possible. It's possible.
And they're being intercepted. They're being turned around. That the rats are trying to jump ship, and
that may be.
So I don't know.
I mean, I think the attaching the pedophile label is that may or may not be true, but I don't think that pedophiles are the only criminals out there. I understand. I would say criminals or
sure.
persons of interest for whatever their crimes are.
Hey, I just got a message that my browser stopped working. Internet Explorer stopped working. So just in case I lose you guys, I'll pop back in as quick as I can. So hopefully the broadcast isn't disrupted.
Okay.
But
okay.
Just in case.
There you go. Yeah. Strange goings on. Yeah. Yeah, I tend to think that it's, well, I'll bring up my favorite thing, which is what if it's AI messing with stuff so that we notice, so that we look, so that we find out some stuff that otherwise wouldn't be on our radar, creating, a little bit of a show so that we pay attention to it that much more.
Yeah. I'm not going to endorse this idea, but some people are saying that, Trump is is serving up this, counter coup, the deep state counter coup, and he's going after a lot of these deep state individuals. And I just heard that the DOJ is opening a new investigation into Hillary Clinton. So I really don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know if these planes are being turned around because, like I said, rats are jumping the ship and they're calling them back because people are trying to run away. I have no idea what the deal is with all that. But
I guess, considering what you're saying, which is if that whole thing is a show and a fabrication, it could be little operations that make it appear to be so that then those breadcrumbs are picked up and all the folks that are buying into that narrative are saying, here, look, there's the evidence.
Right.
That this thing is happening.
But honestly, to turn a plane around after 4 hours into the flight makes no sense. A bird in the cockpit.
Yeah,
how does that even happen? And how does it happen to the point where the plane gets up in the air before you fucking realize there's a bird on the plane at all, right?
Yes.
The nose cone problem. What? You're flying. It's like you're driving down the road and you realize, you pull into a gas station, you check your oil, and maybe you don't close the hood very well, right? And then you get out and you get back on the road and you're driving and you realize, oh, the hood it's flopping around. Oh shit! Pull over and fix the hood. When you're flying an airplane, how do you know there's a problem with the nose cone? How do you even know that there's a problem with it? Is it about to fucking fall off?
That makes no sense. I mean,
and I can understand. Maybe a rat got on the plane. Maybe that could happen.
It's a very, very slim probability, but it's still a possibility.
But a lot of planes have been turning around lately, and I'm not buying any of these stories, man. None of them.
No, I am not either.
Well, I mean, but again, I'll throw in that idea of, I think they're designed in such a way where you're not supposed to buy them, right? And if you're not supposed to buy them, you're supposed to take a second look and a third look and scratch your head and go, well, what the hell is going on? And that's going to lead you to the next connection, the next one, the next one, the next one. And hopefully there's some valuable insight there. I found that with all of these PSYOPs, false flag type events, every time I look into them, I end up learning stuff that I did not expect to learn. Like with Vegas, the Vegas shooting, I learned a lot about ballistic acoustics because, that those were the breadcrumbs within that operation. And a lot of people were saying, okay, so there's that idea of, you hear the sound, somebody tells you, well, that's gunfire. Well, therefore it's gunfire. And okay, case closed, right? But there were a whole bunch of analysts with military backgrounds, with firearms backgrounds coming onto the scene and doing, comprehensive analysis of, well, if it was this, it would have sounded like this. And it would have, is this an echo? Is this not an echo? And I was just sort of pleased to learn about how nuanced and intricate an analysis like that can look like, and that citizen journalists and citizen investigators are taking it up and doing their analysis and then posting it and sharing it with other people. To me, that was like the not the icing on the cake, but like a big bonus that I don't know if 10 years ago people would have either A, had the tools to do so, or B, had the gumption, or were not fed up enough with all of this malarkey to just feel like, you know what, I can't take it anymore. I'm doing a video and I'm going to make it as smart as I possibly can. And I see this as positive.
There's another case of strange plane activity happening at Guantanamo Bay that had a lot of people up in arms earlier last week. And as it turns out, if I'm not mistaken, it was a big nothing burger because it was the normal and scheduled changing of the guard, as it were, that it was like a platoon or so, like 500 soldiers in total that was like in rotation. You know what I mean? They go down there and serve 6 months, 8 months or so, and then they get rotated out with a different set of National Guard people or whoever they send down there. So there was a bunch of people raising a stink earlier in the week, this week, about like a whole bunch of airplanes headed to Guantanamo from all over the world. Like planes were all destined to Guantanamo from literally all kinds of destinations everywhere. So, and then I was, reading through the comments, and one person, it probably, I think, made the most sense was that's what it was basically it's a standard normal rotation. He says, and the same commenter said every 6 or 8 months you can see this happening. So, okay, so no big deal there. But honestly, how many was it? It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different airplanes that, okay, 5 of them turned around, plus the Oklahoma to Texas thing, which I think is fishy as hell. By the way, this Oklahoma, Texas airplane, not only was it an SR-22, there's your master builder number 22, but he took off at 2:20 p.m.
Oh, that was just a coincidence.
Yeah, could be nothing. Could be something. This is something. This is nothing.
Nothing to say here. Move along.
So this Colorado shooting, I want to jump back on that for just a minute because I've got a theory. What's interesting about this, what I think I might do is go back over to, let's see, I think it was, yes, it's this guy, Charles Walton channel. I'm going to screen share again because there's apparently video. There's a whole history. This time, the shooter has a whole fucking background. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's this guy. Yeah. Matthew Riel.
What? No middle name? It's got to have a middle name.
Yeah. Yeah, what kind of...
Kind of a lone wolf is he with no middle name? Sorry, go ahead.
This guy, the Colorado gunman who killed police officer, was Iraq veteran who posted anti-police rants online. Now, this video I'm going to take from Charles Walton, and it's basically it's 20. I'm not going to play the whole video, obviously. I do want to play a couple of parts of this video just to give you a sense of who this character is. Almost this entire video of Charles is basically, and he's suggesting MK Ultra, right? A lot of people do that in these shootings. So just listen to this. I'm going to skip ahead back and forth a couple of times. Just watch for a few minutes, get an idea. But the point is, this time our shooter has a whole history. He's got a whole YouTube channel, and here he is. Check this out.
I don't know why. I can hook everything else up, but I'm having the Google Chromecast on the whole projector. Why? I linked them earlier as well, so let's see. I got a little burn. Look at him. That's not from me. I'm not doing methamphetamine. Every once in a while when you cook, you'll have a grease or oil explosion. I was doing some pork bellies the other day, and had a little explosion. So that's what happened. If you were concerned, okay, there are lots of incompetent people who like to fantasize about things. Lots of them have purple hair. See, I don't get that. Right? Now it's like cut in, cut out, right? It should be feeding something. And I have this, right, already set up on my Samsung, right, tab. So I should be able to pick any of the 50. See, now it came up. It's like, what's going on? It's up and down? Weird. What is this, a commercial or something? I don't get it. Now it's working. Okay, so let's see how this product placement works. So what was I going to watch? I was going to try watching the movie. Let's see if I have it. I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to cast it here. Yes, I mean, we talked about copyright, right? But there was a certain class.
All right, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here.
Is this supposedly the guy that did the dirty deed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm going to do that, and you guys, you take care. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas! Happy New Year! Happy Hanukkah! Happy Kwanzaa! Any other phase you may be celebrating? I know. I mean, traditionally, this is actually, as you probably well know, it's a.
I'm going to jump ahead again. Come on, internet. Yeah, somewhere it goes to a different video here. Here we go. A couple of different videos of him.
I'm going to watch a murder.
Oh, yeah. Right there. I happened to catch that right at the end. He says, I'm going to watch a murder. And that's the end of that video.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay, so here's a little segment of another one of his videos.
I'm not having light issues. Strange.
So there he is in his kitchen playing with a fucking yo-yo.
Okay.
Right. Okay. That's my thought too. I'll jump ahead a little bit here. My internet's running a little slow. He's still playing with his yo-yo. This is his content. I mean, seriously? I mean, I know there's weird people out there, but
Lone Tree illegal stop.
so he's filming a YouTube video of an illegal stop.
Exxon software is buggy.
So here's where we get into a little bit of his anti-police.
Sound kicked on in a minute. After he actually hits this, that's how it works. No lights, no lights. All right, he's pulled over. Now he's using a radar gun, not a laser gun.
All right, it's one of those videos where, you know, commenting on police and their behavior and their actions, and you probably have seen tons of those, like First Amendment audit type videos.
Registration and insurance. Registration and insurance.
Actually, that looks like him in the car.
Yeah, don't shoot me if I get it.
I need your registration and insurance.
Now the tape cuts out because he starts to shake like a crazy little bitch. Watch it. He's going to start shaking if the tape... Well, I'll turn it back on when the tape comes back. But it cuts out because he's shaking too hard. So this is the pathetic, piss-poor quality video that you get from the Lone Tree Police Department and the Lone Tree Municipal Court. It doesn't work. I have a very fast internet connection. I stream on Twitch, you guys.
All right, so this looks like potentially it could be him getting stopped. But you get the idea. The guy's got a YouTube channel. He's posting videos of himself, anti-police, you know, what he calls an illegal stop. Whether it was illegal or not, I don't know. But my point is that this guy has a background. Our shooter, we finally get a shooter with an actual background, like a social media type background, right? How often do we have these?
Not very often. But
we try to look these guys up and they have no fucking history. So Charles Walton, the guy who the video I was just showing you pieces of, this guy, well, I'm done sharing, but anyway. His theory, his idea, and other people as well, you've heard the idea that the shooter was an MK Ultra victim and shit like that, right?
Right.
Well, I have a different take on this. Let's assume for a moment that our assessment was correct, that it's not a real shooting, that it was a drill.
Right.
Now, how easy would it be? They don't have, what I'm trying to say is they don't have to create an MK Ultra character in order to pull off these hoaxes. There's a lot of weirdos out there already. Plenty. I've met a few personally in my time. We've all met a few in real life.
Yeah.
Actually, people who are just really weird.
Yes.
And how easy would it be for law enforcement to just randomly pick some weird guy like this, pluck him out of his house, arrest him, disappear him, and blame him for being the shooter in one of their hoax drill events?
Well, I think that
I would not be surprised at all if that's what's happening.
Of course, that's a possibility. I think that that's actually like one of the oldest tricks in the book, right? That was, pre-internet, pre-TV, pre-radio. That was a method that you would do, right? You need a scapegoat. You grab the weirdo who people don't like, and when he or she talks, doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. Therefore,
Therefore, they're guilty.
Yeah. So, it's almost like all of the MK Ultra speculation is, I don't know, like a distraction unto itself. When it's that easy to set somebody up. So why go through all of the extra effort?
Yeah, exactly. Why you don't even need to. You don't even need to go to the effort. I mean, we have MK Ultra people, who suffer horrible trauma-based mind control and all the other techniques that they use on these people. The Manchurian Candidate, that's a real thing. We have MK Ultra people who are triggered by words, smells, sounds, colors, whatever they program into you. That's no fun. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Say again. So what were you?
I said Holy Ghost. You remember Al Roker, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Al Roker moment.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to say, which is if you're gonna invest in an MK Ultra type project around a person, might as well get them doing something interesting over a long period of time. There really is no point to, invest all of that time, effort, money into creating somebody and then just having them, shoot a podunk, a common cop in some podunk town, right? You know what I mean? That seems silly.
Well, it just seemed to me that if they're going to look, first of all, if they're going to pull off a drill and turn it into a hoax event and turn it into a media event, then they don't need a shooter. You know what I mean?
Exactly. They can just put out a name and let it go at that.
Now, a minute ago here, Lady Zaga was mentioning, and she's absolutely correct, that and now she said now with the new quantum computing they can remote psychic control. I don't know if AI has anything to do with that. No doubt it would make it easier. I think they've been able to do that for a long time. The voice to skull technology is not new. That is a real thing.
Yep.
If anybody likes to read books, Gerald Clark is a pretty good researcher and author. And I can't remember the damn name of his book that I read. It was a long time ago. But he's a physicist. He's a mathematician by trade. And he calculated the physics behind the brainwave and the output input portion of your brain, where when your brain waves are on a certain frequency or a certain frequency range, and if you overload that range, it's sort of like charging a battery, that you can force a backwards flow of information, basically, into the brain remotely. And when I read that book, that was years before anybody was talking about AI. Now, that doesn't mean that AI wasn't already being developed. So I don't know how much AI plays into this. I think they've always been able to do this to a certain extent. But they can absolutely get into your head from a distance remotely through radio waves.
Yes, they can.
And I sort of wanted to add a caveat to my comment earlier, which is, you know, if you're going to invest this much money, it all depends on what that project looks like. So I could imagine a scenario where, let's say, 5G AI is something that is implemented as a test run on this guy to see if he'll do this. You know, keeping it small, keeping the project sort of small and simple, just to see if they could get it to run. That makes sense to me. So I'm not saying that it's impossible or implausible that you know, an MK type scenario. I was just saying that it's certainly not the most efficient and direct way to do it, but it's hardly ever efficient and direct. It's sometimes, I think it depends. Trying new technologies.
I think it depends on what the particular needs of the situation they're building happen to be. I mean, it may be that they need somebody that's more under their control and can give responses in some particular scenario that they set up. But in other scenarios, they may not even need an actual person, just a scapegoat, which, you know, if they say, well, we killed him, you know, it's like they don't really need to have anybody there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
so wait, okay, so just to follow up with this Matthew Reel guy, so he's in custody. He didn't kill himself, and he wasn't killed?
That I don't know about. I could find some information and see if I can figure out what the disposition of this individual was.
Because that would also be bucking the trend, right? In of a lot of these types of scenarios where the you know.
Well, here's what I found. He is said to have shot and killed a deputy and wounded 4 others. Escaped from a veterans mental health ward in 2014, where he was staying to be treated for a psychotic episode, according to a report provided to Congress by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and obtained by the Denver Post. I guess that's what I've got up here, Denver Post. Or maybe not. I don't know. The authorities have said that he fired more than 100 rounds in his suburban Denver apartment before he was killed. Okay, no, apparently he was killed, but maybe it's also possible that listening to our grumblings about there's no data on this person doesn't seem to exist, that they created some kind of a something to feed us. Do you see what I'm saying?
Can I yeah.
Go for it.
All right. I called up the article from the New York Times. At the very end of the article, this is what it says, and I think that this says something. Okay. A resident of the apartment complex, Stephen Silknitter, rushed home from his weekend job as a truck driver when he heard about the shooting. He said he was trying to make his way past a police cordon when he heard what sounded like a fierce exchange of gunfire. 15 to 20 gunshots, return fire, and then more fire. Mr. Silknitter, 50, described the apartment complex as a mix of families, couples, and older residents, and said neither he nor his fiancée, Vera Cover, V-I-R-A, Cover, C-O-V-E-R, had ever felt unsafe there or knew of any reports of violence. Highlands Ranch is one of the safest places in the Denver area, said Ms. Cover, 50. I cannot believe this happened in our backyard. Where do we go from here? Mr. Silknitter added. Where do you go without having to worry about being shot? Right? So I'm just silk knitter, right? Like what knits silk, right? Web, spider web, spider. And then,
well,
the lady's name is Cover, right?
Let me ask a couple of questions here. Okay, first of all, Vera, V-I-R-A, you said?
Yeah.
And then cover like a lid, right?
Yeah.
C-O-V-E-R. Here's something highly amusing. Vera Cover in English Ordinal is 113. Now we know that 113 is the number for dishonest. It's a number for green screen. It's a number for a whole lot of stuff, and including the Baba Kama 113A, which says that a Jew may circumvent or lie to a Gentile to get what they want. It's also 113 in the ALW Kabbalah cipher, which means it's got a double 113 coding in it. And in Chaldean, for what it's worth, it's 33. I'm looking at these numbers thinking that name sounds highly suspicious. Now, let me ask you about Stephen. Is it Steven?
Yeah, it's with a V. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then it's SILK.
Yeah, silk, and then SILKNITTER, right? So
NITTER.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see what I get there. Well, in Ordinal we have a 222, which is somewhat interesting. In full reduction, it's 69, which is the number above the Masonic arch, right? And also has something to do with Saturn. 69, 96, 969 is the speed of Saturn. Oh, and in fact, it's interesting. In full reduction with the we have 69 in full reduction, but with the master number exceptions of K and V, we get 96. So there's our Saturn connection right there. Yeah, I'm going to say that this story is substantially manufactured. That is going to be my guess based on what I'm seeing here. For whatever that's worth. So, yeah, that final paragraph told the whole story, I think.
Did it say the name of the apartment complex?
Cleo says all high schools in that area have had false flags.
That's Columbine, right? It's Columbine. It's Littleton. It's
I want to know the name of that apartment complex if anybody knows it, because I want to look at the satellite. I want to know, were they staged? All those cops Were they staged in the apartment complex parking lot, or were they staged in the parking lot of the business next door? I want to look at the satellite image.
Oh, okay. Copper Canyon apartment complex in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, 15 miles south of Denver. Yeah. So, have you all? Not. I mean, we can definitely come back to this, but who all's heard of Flocka? Have y'all come across this stuff yet?
That rings a bell, but I can't place where I've heard it.
That's the new drug, the new epidemic. It's
right.
Yeah. Demonic possession, people stripping down naked, acting bizarre. The new zombie drug, right? That reminds me of, do you all remember Coney? Remember KONY 2012?
Yes.
PSYOP that they were trying to run in order to get,
and it rather fell flat on its face.
It totally fizzled, right? But the guy who was heading up the whole thing is sort of a handsome, maybe late 20-ish male guy in San Diego. He ended up buck naked out in the street, yelling and hitting cars and so maybe he was given some sort of a drug like
a Flocka.
Yeah.
They flocked him.
Broadsword.
I tell you.
Yeah, Broadsword saying a drug called Spice is big in the UK right now. I wonder. Man, it's like finally Nancy Reagan got her wish where like the drugs available now really are fucking insane, right?
Yes. Or at least that's what they're telling us. I don't know. I don't know anybody on Flocka or on Spice. So.
Broadsword's saying put Flocka into the gematria. FLAKKA.
I got 42 in English ordinal, which is one of their key numbers. It's in reduction reverse with the K exception. It's 33. Imagine that. Let's see. Anything else that looks particularly interesting? That's pretty much it that jumps out at me, but I'm sure that somebody who has more connection to what all the various numbers might mean would probably do an even better interpretation of the numbers that are seen. I don't know.
I just want to make absolutely sure here that
you're echoing.
So sorry, Cleo is saying she lives. She keeps coming in. I live there. All the high school, yeah. So, Cleo, you live there at those apartments? No, it couldn't be that good. You don't live at the.
I just want to make 100% sure. I thought I was muted. Sorry, hang on. I am muted. What the hell?
I can hear you.
You're definitely echoing there.
Terrible echo. Hope one. Is that doing any better?
I don't hear an echo.
Nope. I'm hearing an echo. Definitely.
Shit. Now
I'm not getting an echo from you.
All right. No, it didn't stop. Son of a bitch.
Well, now this is frustrating.
All right, let me leave and come back.
Okay. Well, that's frustrating. Well, if he left, how come I can hear? Is it coming through your? thing, Bart?
I don't think so. I don't think I
have everything muted?
Yeah, I got everything muted. All I hear is you and
then it must be coming through you because it's just you and me, and I hear echo like crazy.
All I hear is you and the TV behind you. That's all I'm hearing. I'll try to close everything out. I don't have anything open other than, I don't know. Does it stop now?
I think we've established that it's Bart that's the problem. Because you left and I can still echo.
All right, I'll try to.
Bart, do you have the other page open? You're watching the live chat. You have to mute that video.
Somebody muted him.
He muted himself.
Yeah, I was muted. Ladies, August is no echo on Bart. It's not me.
Okay,
we didn't have any echo when you were muted. But as soon as you unmuted, got the echo again.
All right, I'll mute myself for a while then, and so.
Okay, so I just want to double check and confirm that you did say Copper Canyon Apartments, and near, what was it, near Highland something, Colorado? Because I'm looking on my phone. I'm looking on the satellite. I've got Copper Canyon Apartments, and I got to tell you guys, I should do this on a screen share because I'm not seeing that parking lot anywhere near this place. That staging area parking lot. I'm not seeing any kind of staging area parking lot anywhere near this place.
Surprised me in the least because it looks, when they pull away, it looks like a storage facility or something on that order.
Yeah, it looks like
some kind of area as opposed to, you know, residential.
I'll tell you what. Let me open up a fresh tab.
Totally BS. Totally BS.
Yeah, well, just for fun, I'm going to open up a fresh tab and I'm going to get the map and go look.
Okay, I am looking, and there does appear. Okay, so I see Copper Canyon Apartments. It seems to be quite a big swatch of apartments, and then there is a building next to it that looks similar. You get your Bruce Riley State Farm Insurance, Aloha Sun Tanning, Bike Source. It looks more like a mall, and it really does actually look like what they were showing. It certainly could be. And it's right next door. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So right there, you see Copper Canyon apartment homes.
Yeah.
Right here is, I think, something that looks like it could be that facility, right? You know, there's a fairly large parking lot. I would have to match it up and, you know, look at that footage again. But it's I'm just saying it's
yeah, that looks
not there. It's not there.
No, go back. Stay there. Highlight you. Move a little bit to the left. A little bit to the entire parking lot.
There seems to be some red trim around some of the buildings that I can see.
Then that's it. Let me. I'll go get footage. Just hold still there.
Yeah. 'Cause, 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 'cause,
You've got something open.
You've got something open, Bart.
That's creating a feedback.
Okay, I will. I got Chrome open, but Skype is open, but I'm not on with anybody. I've closed everything out. I'll just.
And you do have the on my page.
On my page.
I just closed it out. I just closed it out. So, you know, if it's me, I'm sorry, but I don't know what to do about it.
Very weird.
Yep, it's.
It could just be a delay, right? So like the sound is coming out, and it's not lining up. So it's coming out of
your computer, feeding back into your microphone.
Yeah. So
maybe it has solved the problem.
Yeah, I could try that, or let's see. I don't know if there's is there a way to refresh Hangouts?
You can leave and come back. But before you do, I've got the video.
I think he left already because I'm not hearing anything, and he's not on our screen.
Okay, I'm not screen
sharing. He'll be back in.
Let me show you this.
Okay, is that any better?
Well, let's find out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Appears to be.
Okay. Well, that seems to be the thing to do. All right.
Okay, I'm going to screen share again and show you this parking lot again. Now, look at the shape of the building right there. See how it's got these corners that sort of juts out, like right there where that the mobile command unit.
Yep.
So it's got these 45-degree angles where part of the building sort of sticks out.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me just bear with me, slow, move around. I'll tell you what, let me just jump to the end where the helicopter zoomed out. And
run it on super slow.
Yeah, that very well could be that parking lot. And that makes sense that's where they would gather.
Okay, so they were down around the left-hand side. There's a corner building there. All right, those are the apartments off to the left.
Well, what I'm thinking is, why would everybody be there? There'd be absolutely nobody paying any attention to the
Bart, pull that up again.
residential.
You want me to share it again?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, I've got my Google map open. I could just jump back and forth.
Yeah.
That would probably work pretty well.
Yeah, that would probably be better.
I always like to look around and see what all else is in the area. In terms of businesses, you know, anything interesting? Nothing really all that interesting.
Okay, so they're over at the Olive Garden parking lot.
Yeah.
Which is kind of not even close to this apartment complex.
Well, I think that whole thing is the apartment complex. I think this whole area is like a development.
Well, yeah, obviously.
No, because right next to the parking lot where they're staged, in fact, let me share again because I've got my map open and I've got the video open, both different tabs. So here on the map, you guys got this?
Yep.
Okay, you can see the Olive Garden and the big parking lot over there on the left-hand side.
Who's highlighted?
Should be me.
Okay, because it looked like we've got
Yeah.
2 arrows highlighted. Or somebody. Okay, maybe not. Both of you are screen sharing. Never mind. I'll get these icons figured out. All right. So where are we? Okay. Olive Garden. Yeah, they seem to be staged out in front of the Promenade Shopping Center, way at that far end. And nobody seems to be going towards the complex where the action is supposed. I mean, there's no to hide behind the buildings and sneak up and peek through, and I mean, stuff like that.
Well, I'm just saying, there's 2 or 3 apartment complexes between where they're staged and where this supposedly happened. Because if you look from the Olive Garden and that business center parking lot says Landmark Denver and Promenade Shopping Center. To the right is Autumn Chase Apartment Community, which is a large area. And then next to that is Traditions Apartments. And then next to that is what looks like row houses.
Ah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and there's Copper Canyon.
And then to the right, again, is Copper Canyon way over there.
Yeah, that kind of staging makes no sense. Why would you be staged basically a block away, at least, with all kinds of stuff in the way? You know,
I mean, they're a quarter or to half a mile away.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thereabouts. Yeah. Now that I look at it,
maybe.
More than a block away, then. Far more than a block away.
All right. Seems like some malarkey.
Yeah, I'm going to call total BS on this. Absolutely.
All right. I'm taking a little break.
Truly amazing.
How
would they have any clue what was going on in the location of the incident if they're down there drinking coffee and meandering around over there?
They were at the Olive Garden.
Yeah, I guess, huh?
You know what? I'm not. Oh, there it is.
What?
There. I was looking for that part of the building that jutted out on the diagonals, and it's got to be this AMF Little Lanes.
They're clear at the far end of this parking lot.
They're down here by the bowling alley. The AMF Little Lanes.
Yes, that's where they are. They're right there at the very end of the parking lot. That's where their staging area is. They're down there drinking coffee, meandering around, waving at each other, while clear across town, practically, there's an incident going on that they don't seem to have any interest in investigating. We're supposed to believe that this is real. No, I'm thinking the probabilities that was a real event are seriously approaching 0. None of it makes sense. You know, now I could see where all those buildings there in the middle, the Traditions apartment building, I could see maybe staging up in that general vicinity somewhere there.
Honey, you know that they'll block the fucking road if they want to.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. I'm just saying I can see having the idiots who were clear down at the other end of that parking lot. You know, if it was a real event, they'd staging area much closer to the actual event, because if it was here in this Copper Canyon area, they wouldn't be way down there drinking coffee and doing whatever else they were doing there. That's not how it would look.
And the helicopter footage just showed them hanging or milling around the staging area. That if there was a shooting at the apartment complex, you'd think there'd at least be a few squad cars over near where the shooting just fucking happened.
Yes.
You think the helicopter might want to show us some of that, but nope.
And you'd think that maybe there might be people looking as if there was some kind of urgency somewhere. No, they're just, like I said, there's 0 urgency. Like, yeah, hey, let's just stand around, chit chat, and hang out. And that, I'm sorry, in a real event, that is not what you're going to be seeing. Just not what you're going to be seeing.
Well, at least I was right about the helicopter footage. Didn't look like an apartment complex, because there certainly didn't look like there were any resident vehicles in that area there. So
not at all.
Hell, nice to know at least I'm not totally fucking crazy.
Oh, I tell you, it's just this whole universe is getting absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd.
All right, well, what else? Let's see. Bart went to take a break. Do you want to maybe...
We know what he's doing. Oh, anyway. Do I want to what?
I was thinking maybe we go over that that documentary that Laz pointed out. I don't know if Laz is still with us, but The Century of Self.
Yeah. We can certainly touch upon it a bit. Sure.
The Century of Self. This is by the way, this is a 4-hour documentary, and it's pretty damn good on Edward Bernays and how he basically pioneered the modern
advertising,
marketing to crowd control, herd mentality, how to market things of all kinds of things to basically large crowds of people. He was a bit of an introvert. He didn't do very well with individual relationships, but he had a brilliant mind for figuring out how large groups of people think.
Yeah, group manipulation.
All right, so I've got a couple of timestamps that I want to jump to here. Play from 25. So I'm going to unmute this. Try to jump to the 25-minute mark. Play it for a couple of minutes. I think I'll play this for about 2 minutes, and then we'll talk about this.
Forces in human beings could be triggered when they were in crowds.
Do you want to screen share there, Aaron?
He had underestimated.
Yes. Let's do that. 2442. Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome. I did remind you on that last show.
No, you did.
But I guess either you didn't hear me, or I thought I was unmuted when I was muted. But I said, you're not screen sharing, and you didn't respond. And I thought, well, maybe you don't want to show the numbers on your box or something, and so that's why you weren't showing the visuals.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Freud was now becoming increasingly pessimistic about human beings. In the mid-20s, he retreated in the summers to the Alps, sometimes staying in an old hotel, the Pension Moritz in Berchtesgaden. It is now a ruin. Freud began to write about group behavior, about how easily the unconscious aggressive forces in human beings could be triggered when they were in crowds. Freud believed he had underestimated the aggressive instincts in human beings. They were far more dangerous than he had originally thought.
After World War I, Freud was basically a pessimist. He felt that man is an impossible creature, a very, very sadistic and bad species, and they did not believe that man can be improved. Man is a ferocious animal, the most ferocious animal that exists. They enjoy torturing and killing, and he didn't like man.
The publication of Freud.
All right, I need to stop it right there because this guy just said that Freud became, disillusioned with man, and he said he doesn't like man very much, and that man likes torturing and killing. Now, I found that to be quite contradictory to this very same documentary, because later on, and pardon me, give me a second here, because just jumping down on my notes. This is a little bit tough here, because maybe I should just go get the other version, because this documentary comes in a 4-hour version, or it comes in 4-part version. So here on part 2, within the first 2 minutes, to help them, check this out. Keep in mind what he just said about Freud. Freud said that man likes torturing and killing each other. Let me back this up, because literally within the first couple of minutes of this part 2, it says 49% of all soldiers evacuated from World War II, were evacuated from combat, were sent back. They suffered mental problems. Just listen to this for a minute.
Too uncomfortable, too incompatible with our adult self to be remembered. Yet they are often disturbing, rumbling under the surface like lava in a volcano. The dream is the royal road to these thoughts, the royal road to the unconscious.
This is the story of how Sigmund Freud's ideas about the unconscious mind were used by those in power in post-war America to try and control the masses. Politicians and planners came to believe that Freud was right to suggest that hidden deep within all human beings were dangerous and irrational desires and fears. They were convinced that it was the unleashing of these instincts that had led to the barbarism of Nazi Germany. To stop it ever happening again, they set out to find ways to control this hidden enemy within the human mind. At the heart of the story are Sigmund Freud's daughter Anna and his nephew Edward Bernays, who had invented the profession of public relations. Their ideas were used by the US government, big business, and the CIA to develop techniques to manage and control the minds of the American people. Those in power believed that the only way to make democracy work and create a stable society was to repress the savage barbarism that lurked just under the surface of normal American life. The story begins in the middle of the fierce fighting of the Second World War. As the fighting intensified, the American army was faced by an extraordinary number of mental breakdowns among its troops. 49% of all soldiers evacuated from combat were sent back because they suffered from mental problems. In desperation, the army turned to the new ideas of psychoanalysis.
Okay, so there it is. You heard it right from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
49%.
We're so savage and evil.
Right.
We just can't deal with what they're telling us to do, right?
Exactly. I mean, out of one corner of their mouth, they say that the savageness of man could be easily triggered in large crowds.
Right.
And out of the other corner of their mouth, they say that they set out to stop it from ever happening again, like the terrible atrocities of World War II and the man's savage barbarism. They set out to stop it from ever happening again. Bullshit. These same fucking elites are the ones who created the fucking war in the first place. And then they said they set out to repress the savage barbarism in order to have a stable society. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's crazy. The savage barbarism is in the psychopaths in control.
Well, yeah.
And
it's all projection.
They propagandize us and tell us that there is a good some good reason why we should actually go and kill others.
Right.
And of course, when you don't have all the data and you think you're being fed the truth, you may become fearful and decide that, gee, maybe you should join up and serve your country and go do things like kill other people. And of course,
right after 9. Go ahead. Finish.
Go ahead.
Right after 9/11, right after 9/11, Army recruit was like high off the charts.
Yes, it was.
I mean, people were lining up to go kill brown people in the Middle East right after 9/11.
Yes, they were.
So they dumb us down. They ruin our education. They dumb us down with chemicals and propaganda and shitty education. And then, like you said, Amy, when you tell people and they believe it to be true, they're willing to pick up arms and go hurt and kill people. So this idea that this documentary is pumping out that Freud decided or figured out that the man is just fucking savage and barbaric, and they set out to study and try to make sure it never happens again, and then out of the other corner of their mouth they just fucking said 49%. They said the Army was faced with the whopping dilemma. The 49% of their soldiers were sent home because they couldn't fucking handle it. They couldn't handle the savage barbarism. This is just simply not true at all.
So clearly humans are by nature not savage and barbarian as Freud, who I'm convinced, being part of the club, I'm sure he was, had a motive to paint the human as some kind of ghastly thing so as to justify the crap that they are doing to us.
That's right.
Yep. I haven't finished this documentary. There's some good information about the character of Freud and Edward Bernays, but I'm not even sure if I'm going to even attempt to finish this documentary because I've already poked a whole bunch of holes, and I've got more notes and stuff to cover. If you guys want to, I'll have to play portions of it, and then we can talk about.
Not necessarily. Well, I mean, you could just bring up the topic unto itself. I think we have it's 20 minutes till 3 hours. So.
Yeah.
All right. Let me. I'll tell you what. Let me just play another little portion of this, referring to the power of the frenzied mob to destroy even governments. They say it's at about the 26-minute mark. Let me just let this play for about a minute and a half. Oops. Full screen.
The most ferocious animal that exists. They enjoy torturing and killing. And
no, we don't.
He didn't like man.
No, we don't.
The publication of Freud's works in America had an extraordinary effect on journalists and intellectuals in the 1920s. What fascinated and frightened them was the picture Freud painted of submerged, dangerous forces lurking just under the surface of modern society. Forces that could erupt easily to produce the frenzied mob, which had the power to destroy even governments.
So there it was right there. Frenzied mob, the power to destroy even governments. So lurking just below the surface of man are these terrible, powerful forces.
Yeah.
And earlier in the same documentary, they just said, because we're like 26 and a half minutes in this, earlier it describes how Bernays was able to control the mob with various forms of propaganda, and how easy it was to trigger people. And agent provocateurs are not new. This has been going on for thousands of years, all the way back to Rome and before.
Easily.
I mean, look, the fact that the Romans knew very well that the mob was their biggest threat. they refer to basically the people. When the people get pissed off and they all show up at your doorstep, there's not much you can do. You're going to hang in the street. But I got an idea. How about you don't fucking piss people off? How about you?
What a concept!
How about you treat people fairly and not tax the shit out of them and not make their sons and daughters go kill brown people or whoever the hell the flavor of the day is?
I've got an even better idea. Let's just not consent to any of that and build our own system based on ethical anarchy. No rulers. I don't want rulers. I don't consent to anyone ruling me. Period.
But, you know, left to their own accord, people are not savage and barbaric. Sure, people get pissed off and they you know, people get in fights and people can sometimes hurt each other, but honestly, this is not even none of this shit is true.
No, overall, the human race is quite a peaceful one. I mean, if you took the statistics of all the violence, even the violence that they make up and tell us are true, and compare them, the numbers involved, to the number of humans said to be on this planet at this time, statistically, none of them exist. That's statistically. Statistically, it's you know, like 1 grain of sand off a beach of sand particles, you know. The human race is a very peaceful race, but they build this illusion that we are not. And I think Freud had something to do with that, and that's why he publicly came out with the stuff he said, because they were trying to build the idea that we should fear one another, that we should always live in fear because our neighbor just might decide to kill us. Which, come on, you know, that's totally unrealistic. And yeah, okay, there is a possibility that that might happen, but when you look at the probability, it again approaches zero.
Yeah. Well, isn't this okay? So government, right? To govern, right?
Control the mind.
Exactly. Government wouldn't be necessary unless people were a threat to each other. That's why we need government. But if people are not indeed a threat to, well, hold on. If people indeed are not a threat to each other, then we don't need government. And so the government needs to be needed, and therefore it's in their best interest to excuse me.
Yes, well, here, take care of that cough.
Greatest potential said, if you're stressed out, go shopping. GP, if you weren't watching the show earlier about the masturbation breaks at work, that's probably the best way to relieve stress. I just wanted to say that.
Yes.
And now, obviously, Bart must be stressed out because he's already taken 2 breaks.
The thing is, yeah, really. The thing is that as far as needing the government, once you understand that the government is a corporation, and if we decide that we do not want a government, their investment becomes worthless. And that's what they don't want. And so they have a vested interest in keeping us believing that we need a government.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That is what this is all about. And we don't need a government. We need self-government. We need power over no one else, but 100% power over our individual selves. And I'm all for that. And that's what I'm working on. Hard. Oh, by the way, I'm going to drop a link to my latest article. It's on Steam It, and if anybody wants to go see it, what it is, it's a short story, and it's called Endia, Endia, and I would hope that people will choose to go watch that. And if you put the article in link into your description on this later on, that would be really awesome too, because then people listening on your channel, it will be on mine, but there it is. There's the link in both the chat, and I put it in our group chat here.
All right.
And yeah.
I will. Let me play this for 30. Let me play this for 30 seconds.
In the 1920s, there was a new idea of how to
screen share. Hello, where'd you go? Aaron? I don't know what happened to Aaron, but I'm not hearing him or nothing. Maybe.
Well, I think I'm over my coughing fit. So.
Well, yay!
Yeah.
I was a bit concerned there, but you looked like you weren't turning blue, so I decided you probably were going to live.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I'm just still getting over the flu.
Oh, yuck. Yuck, yuck. Well, it was a good thing we had decided not to have a show last week, huh?
Yeah, that was a good break.
Probably wouldn't have made it through. Oh, poor thing.
No,
I'm glad you're on the mend.
At the time the show would have been, I was snuggled up in bed.
I do not doubt. What happened to Aaron, but he now has his mic muted. So if he's there, we're not hearing a word he's saying.
Yeah.
So hopefully
oh, he's back.
He's back.
Sorry, I bumped the damn cord and the microphone came half unplugged.
Ah, we were sitting there going, where'd he go?
Yeah, I don't necessarily need to screen share. There's really not so much to see. I just really wanted you to hear what these guys are saying.
Oh, okay. All right.
So listen to this. Let me back this up again.
And their unrecognized longings, that sort of thing. That you can tap into their deepest desires or their deepest fears and use that to your own purposes.
And then, in 1928, a president came to power who agreed with Bernays. President Hoover was the first politician to articulate the idea that consumerism would become the central motor of American life. After his election, he told a group of...
Now, I need to pause right there and point out that by this time, Bernays had already been working hard to create this idea of consumerism. Okay? So when he just said that President Hoover began to agree with Bernays... Try to play that again. Sorry. Getting this slider to on a 4-hour video, it's hard to get this slider to move accurately.
After his election, he told a group of advertisers and public...
Try to back up just a couple of seconds.
You have taken over the job of creating desire and have transformed people into constantly moving happiness machines. Machines which have become the key to economic progress. What was beginning to emerge in the 1920s was a new idea of how to run mass democracy. At its heart was the consuming self, which not only made the economy work, but was happy and docile, so created a stable society.
Both Bernays and Littman's concept of managing the masses takes the idea of democracy and it turns it into a palliative. It turns it into giving people some kind of feel-good medication that will respond to an immediate pain or immediate yearning, but will not alter the objective circumstances one iota. I mean, democracy really, the idea of democracy at its heart was about changing the relations of power that had governed the world for so long. And Bernays' concept of democracy was one of maintaining the relations of power, even if it meant that one needed to sort of stimulate the psychological lives of the public. And in fact, in his mind, that was what was necessary. that if you can keep stimulating the irrational self, then leadership can basically go on doing what it wants to do.
And there it is. If you can keep stimulating the irrational self,
Yep.
then the controllers can keep going to do what they do.
Maybe that's why I'm so out of that whole thing. I abhor irrationality. You too, I think.
Yeah. Well, it just bothers me the way this documentary portrays the overall message. And
as a positive one?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, it's like first they set it up as though, and this is true, that, you know, Bernays is the guy who came along, and he's the guy who got women to smoke, because before that it was taboo for women to smoke, and it was him, his idea and his slogan and his scheme, the way he did it at the World Fair. He paid a group of women to light up in public, knowing that there'd be a bunch of cameras around there. And then he created ad campaigns showing how it empowers women.
Right.
Right? So and he had his client, by the way, who was paying him to do this, was the tobacco industry, because they said, hey, we're losing half the freaking market.
Well, yeah.
So the point is Bernays comes along, and he's the guy who figured out how to stimulate and tweak and manipulate the mob mentality, and how to get at the various animalistic roots and nature of people, to get them to buy things that they don't need, to get them to take up arms and go fight wars, to get women to smoke, all that stuff. And then they come along after that has already worked its magic. Afterwards, they come along and they say things like, well, we've discovered that men, the mind of men is a barbaric one, and we need to control this, and we need to suppress the savage barbarians. They create this fucking animal, and like Bart said, you know, government, it needs to be needed, so they create this fucking animal, and then they turn around and say, look at these animals, we got to control these people. That's exactly what they're doing today.
Yeah, man, it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. I just want to go out and kill somebody.
Oh, it makes me so mad. I want to go out and kill a paper doll.
I just want to hug everybody now.
I like what Broadsword
just said. Really hard.
I like what Broadsword just said. Bernays, what a prize cunt.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you know, yes, but also if it's true, it's true, and if it works, it works, right? So, I mean, it's one of these things where it kind of is true in the idea that if people are this easy to fool, then there is something deep inside of us that's somewhat flawed. I would lean more towards the idea that we're actually, you know, sort of naive and righteous, and if that gets sort of tweaked in the right way, then we can be turned towards all kinds of sinister things.
You know, we are flawed, Bart. You're right. We're people. We're humans. And we're not perfect. And of course, we're flawed. Hey, Chirpy Chimes is in the house. What's up, RR?
Hey,
RR. We are flawed. That's obvious. The problem I see is that our flaws are being played upon. They're being manipulated. And then the fuckers turn around and say, look how flawed they are.
Yeah. That's
exactly.
And it's like, look, if they can train people, like if you watch this documentary and you realize how they have trained the whole population at a time to be consumers, for instance, where normally where they were not to begin with. Okay. If they can be trained to be consumers, they can be trained to not be consumers. If they can be trained to think with their irrational self, they can be trained to think with their rational self.
Yep.
These fuckers go out of their way, spend trillions of dollars on education. I won't even call it education anymore. We'll call it school.
Indoctrination.
It's called schooling because fish are schooled, right? Fish are in schools. They group together in mob mentality. If they spend all this money to train us to be irrational, they can spend some money and train us to be rational. Common Core is a perfect example. They went out of their way to create a system that just ruins the thinking process.
Yes, indeed.
So it's not fair at all. It's completely misguided, and there's a good word that I'm thinking of that I can't. It's not.
Well, I don't know about the word you're thinking about.
It's erroneous. The arguments that they make are completely erroneous.
Well, yes, but from their perspective, it all makes sense, and there is no error. But it's from their perspective, i.e., they've got some divine right to rule, and they are better than we are, and they have more wherewithal for making decisions about us than we do about ourselves. That's their thinking. And from their thinking, what they're doing falls into place. But of course, their thinking is psychopathic.
The very beginning of this documentary opens up by talking about how people in general, after I think it was after World War I, that people were they were very rational, that they didn't go out and buy things that they didn't need. Okay, people did well with what they had, and they were very cognitive of the money that they had and their futures and how to act and how to behave and what to do and what not to do. And then along comes this guy Bernays and his various elite clientele of tobacco manufacturers and governments and pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, psychopaths. So along comes Bernays, and he discovers and realizes and implements ways to get people to act irrationally. And then the documentary goes along and says, well, it turns out man is pretty irrational and fucking barbaric, and we need to do something about that. It's just mind-blowing. It's just...
Well, the thing is, though, that feeds on the total control, total power over others that the psychopaths... I mean, they not every psychopath is drawn to power over others. However, statistically speaking, virtually all of them do. They want that. They get off on that power over others. So now they've created the illusion that there's a problem with the human race, so they can sell to the human race their solution: problem, reaction, solution.
Right. It reminds me of the pollution problem. These huge giant fucking corporations spill oil and toxic chemicals into the rivers. They pollute the air, they pollute the food, the water, they pollute everything. And then they turn around and they say, look how fucking polluted this place is. You guys, we need to get you out of your cars. We need you to recycle. We need you guys to be more conscious of the way you... Fuck you.
Yeah, it wasn't us that created the problem. Don't blame it on us.
Yeah, well, I've been saying for a long time around the whole global warming, climate change thing. I've been saying that's low-hanging fruit. That's a distraction. The real problem is pollution. So it's about polluting the environments. Whether it's causing an uptick or a downtick in temperatures is really insignificant to the idea that it's all of these chemicals that weren't there are now released in such abundance, and now our bodies and our foods and all the animals that we then turn into food and the food that they eat, and all of that is now infused with thousands, millions of chemicals that otherwise wouldn't be there. And so, but that's too complicated and not sexy enough of an idea.
Well,
so
I can say that without the profit motive, the way we would be doing things, first of all, the people who care would be doing the things, and the ways that we would be doing it would be thoughtful. We'd say, no, we won't do it this way because that will create this problem, and then we'll have to solve for that problem. Let's do it that way, because that way doesn't create any problems that we can see. And if it does create problems, then we'll deal with them when we see them. But it looks pretty good to me. So we'd be going about things in that fashion as opposed to, let's do it this way. It's the cheapest. We'll get the most money. Who cares if we have to spew this crap out into the water and the air?
You know? About pollution, besides the actual pollution, this concept of recycling really pisses me off, because when I was a kid, I used to collect tin cans, and we would get paid a penny per pound or something like that.
Right.
And I was a little brat. I would take the cans and we would crush them so that we could get more in a bag.
Mm-hmm.
Except before we crushed them, we would sprinkle a little bit of sand or dirt in them to weigh them down. And so we cheated a little, okay? But the point is you used to get paid. Glass, they would pay you for. Aluminum, they would pay you for. Steel, you can get paid for steel. If you have steel, there are recycling centers that will pay you for steel. But
True.
But virtually every house these days has a little recycle bin, and you know, paper, plastic, glass, aluminum, and steel. All of the recyclable materials go into the bin, and then they come and they collect it every day or every week. And then what happens? You don't get paid for that. So what happens to that recycled material? It goes back, it gets recycled, and it becomes free raw material. It becomes free raw material for the same fucking psychopaths that are polluting this world to begin with.
True.
So now
I will say this.
It's bad enough that I go to the grocery store and I have to check myself out because they're getting rid of the goddamn cashiers. They have these self-checkout lines, right? You don't get a discount. You're a customer. You don't get a discount for being the fucking cashier for yourself. Now they want me to separate my goddamn trash and then hand it over to them as free raw material. And I'm like, no.
Well, I will say this, Aaron. I do know that there are places here where you can take your cans and your bottles and put them into a machine, and they will pay you cash, but you have to go there yourself.
You got time for that, and
pump things through. Well, that's what you're basically paying for when you give them the products for free on your curbside, is you're paying for them to take it and deal with it all. So I do see a perspective there. It is a convenience, because I would rather just put it out in a bin and let them have it than go, okay, where is the nearest place that I have to haul this stuff to, so that I can then stand there and feed it into the machine all day to get the, $10 out,
yeah, you might spend
or whatever.
You might spend a few dollars in gas to get there and back just to have a few. It's not even worth it.
Exactly. Unless it's like half a block away, it becomes not very cost efficient. So, there are some good aspects to this way of doing things, but still in the end, the one who really profits are the psychopaths. That's who really profits, not you and me. And I guess there's a little bit of pollution that's alleviated, but not enough, because we've got planned obsolescence and all of this stuff. I mean, virtually everything you get these days is not something you think I'm going to hand this down to my daughter or son when the time comes. You buy it and think, gee, maybe this will last a year. Right? With any luck.
Yeah. Yeah, the planned obsolescence really, really, really pisses me off.
Well, that's Bernays all the way. He was the one that came up with planned obsolescence. Hey, just make it so it breaks and they'll come back and buy more. Just make it so it sticks together long enough that they feel they got enough of their money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
That they won't decide to go to some other manufacturer or whatever other product.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what it is, and that is creating by far the vast bulk of the waste on our planet. The vast bulk of the waste. Because if all the products that we got our hands on were made to last, we would be throwing away very little. And if we didn't have to worry about theft packaging, there'd be even less waste. Because if we didn't have money, we wouldn't be worried about theft because that wouldn't be a thing. Everybody, all the stuff would be there for free.
Speaking of anti-theft packaging, I just saw a video the other day, also from Charles Walton, showing that in Walmart, they are now locking up. There's actually a cage for the single can energy drinks are now under lock and key. So you need to get an assistant to come unlock the cage if you want a Monster drink from Walmart.
Well, fortunately, I A, never want a Monster drink, and B, will not go into the wall unless that is the only place that I can get something I absolutely need.
Right, exactly.
Otherwise, my little fanny will never cross that threshold, period.
Yep. You know, when Nancy and I vacationed in Alaska a couple years ago, we rented an RV and we were going to trek. We trekked all over Alaska in the RV. But as soon as we got the RV from the center, we pulled out. The first thing we had to do was go shopping and stock up on food and supplies. And there was a Walmart, and there's not much else in Anchorage. So we went to the Walmart, which is literally right down the road from the RV center. And we bought a couple $100 worth of food and alcohol and whatever else we wanted and needed. And both of our credit cards were declined. We had to pay cash for our stuff. And then we had to call our credit card company and get them to turn our cards back on, because Walmart apparently has so much theft that they have to deal with that they rejected our cards because we were out of state.
Oh, good grief.
Not because there was anything wrong with our accounts or our balance or the card or us, but simply because we were out of state, out of Walmart, and it was enough that they shut our cards down, and we had to stop on the middle of our vacation and get a hold of our card company. I had to call the bank, and she had to call her card company, and shit back.
Brother.
So hey, just on the subject of Walmart, real quick, what do you guys think of this idea where they check your receipt right before you go out the door? What do you think of that bullshit?
I don't know. I've never been in one. So
well, it's not just Walmart. Some other stores do it too. Some of the box stores do.
I do know that the places like Sam's Club and BJ's,
the big box.
Yeah, the what they call it, membership stores. They've always done that. And it's a pain in the tail end, but it's kind of interesting. You watch these people they've got checking the receipts, and they just kind of glance over what you've got, glance at your receipt, hand you the receipt. Okay, off you go. Well, so if they were really verifying everything on the receipt was what you bought and vice versa, if they were making sure it all matched up, the lines would be backed up through the whole store. You know?
Exactly. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's another illusion. And now there's now there's like a trend of videos popping up on YouTube of people that have refused to do it, and then they wind up getting a big confrontation, and sometimes the cops get called. And I watched one the other day, and the guy is standing there. 2 cops were called, and the guy was right there at the foyer trying to leave. And the manager was there, and the guy was starting to raise his voice a little bit. And the manager actually said to him that we're just checking to make sure that nothing was missed at the register. And
right.
If I was the guy videoing, if I was the guy making that video who was stopped, I would have stopped right there and said, absolutely, that is fucking bullshit. They are not checking to make sure that nothing is missed, because not once have I ever had anybody look through all my bags and go item by item. That's fucking bullshit. That's bullshit.
Yep.
They are not. There's no reason to do it. There's no reason at all, because they never check. They glance at your receipt. They give it a swipe with their little highlighter pen, and you're off. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's like TSA, right? It's about humiliating you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
It's all about humiliation.
It's about reminding you that who's in charge. It's kind of like here in Georgia. They recently allowed alcohol sales on Sunday, but only after 12:30. So I drink a lot of wine. I went to the store a couple weeks ago, and it was 12:25. I was a little bit too early, and I might have forgot it was a Sunday or whatever. And if I can have to stand there for 5 minutes, the guy would sell it. Are you kidding me? It's just to remind you that you're a child and that we're in charge.
Well, yeah, it's to remind you, of course, that you're not in control.
Right.
And that you're not trusted.
Right.
And that that even if I as a human were inclined to trust you, the policy that I need to follow is one where I am not allowed to trust you. And so I don't know. It's the double-ended. It works on both sides of the fence in order to continue to degrade our souls.
Yes, or at least try to.
Well, yeah, they try to.
They can't touch me.
Blue Blood was asking, has anyone found any more fake Chinese cabbage at Walmart?
I didn't know about that, but then I haven't been to Walmart, so I
knew that there was a such thing as a fake Chinese cabbage, and there are videos out there that show how it's made. It's really interesting. It's really kind of artful the way they do it, and interesting, and it's edible. They use a food product when they do it, but it's not cabbage at all. It looks like cabbage. It slices like cabbage, and I think it even has a palatable consistency. But I had Jason, I had no idea that shit was in Walmart. I thought that was just a China thing. So I have no idea. I had no idea they were even trying to sell that shit in Walmart. Wouldn't surprise me though.
Well, everything else in Walmart's from China. I mean, come on. Anyway, are we about ready to call it for the night?
I'm sick of you guys too, so let's.
Yeah, hey Amy, you got to send me the outro, because when I restarted, I lost the.
Okay, hang on. I will drop that link momentarily.
Yeah, Soylent Green.
Soylent cabbage.
Fake food too, huh? I know that some of the fucking Chinese, like if you order Chinese food, pay attention that there's not cardboard.
Not what?
Actual cardboard as a filler.
Huh, yeah.
Like sliced up, thin sliced not the typical cardboard like a cardboard box, but like postcard cardboard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Not the double wall stuff with the fluted center.
Corrugated.
Yeah, just that really thick paper that is also considered cardboard. They slice that shit thin, like kind of like the way they do the bamboo shoots.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, there's fucking cardboard in your Chinese food, so watch out for that too, guys. Fake.
Okay.
Anyway,
fake rice.
love to everyone who joined us.
Yeah, Bart, you ready to go?
Love
I am
always.
almost ready. Okay.
Okay, you guys, we don't have anybody scheduled for next week, so we will let you know when we get something up and going.
Yep.
Other than that, just thanks everybody for being here, all the regulars as usual, and I think I saw a new face or two. Adelaide was in here. Lady Zaga, Mad Pyman. Big P just showed up. Oh, I didn't even know you were here.
Big P's been here the whole time, as far as I can tell.
Didn't know that. Broadsword and Blue Blood and everybody. Charles Nundy made it. And Grady's Patel. RR was here, and Laz was in here earlier. So we love you guys, and we will see you next week on the flip side.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody.
Don't forget to thumb up the video and be good. Love you guys, and we'll see you next week.